All right. Good evening. Got a lot to get into tonight. One of the benefits and/or detriments to a live show is things happen while we're live, and some things are happening while we're live. You chose to tune in here, and I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some off-topic things that happened first today, which may very well be relevant to this topic in the near future. So it was announced today by RFK that he is suspending his campaign, especially in states where it may hinder Donald Trump's chances of winning the election. So you can still vote for him in essentially, I hate to say it, irrelevant states. But he is not only endorsed Trump, he is said in his own words that he is joining Trump's team essentially for purposes that he wants to get some things done that I agree with. I think he's been one of the best speeches I've seen. We don't have 48 minutes to cover all of it, but we might try to browse through to the point where he says that. But we had other things happen tonight that I want to bring onto stage here briefly. Again, we're live. We're going to grab this from the Benny Show. And this is no longer live on the Benny Show. But in case you missed it, we'll put it up here. So this is Trump, perhaps with RFK. I'm not certain yet. I haven't got a chance to see it myself. Here we go. Live speech tonight after that announcement. So let's see what happens here.
Intro here.
Come on, we gotta have this music against smugglers going on.
Turning Point knows how to do a rally. You got to give him credit.
This looks like a UFC rally. This is what it looks like.
It does.
Don't worry about the two guys in the bottom corner. They're just part of the live show here.
Wyatt and Tucker Carlson like Kid Rock, but
let's see. Oh shoot, went way too far.
What the hell is wrong with fewer?
Let's go back here.
Prices.
I don't see RFK present
you're in
here.
And go to chronic.
Let's go. Oh, yeah, there he is.
All right. Review of the.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's check this out first because it is kind of a big deal. Yeah. Copyright strikes be damned, I guess. So here we go. Let's get into it.
Whoa. And he deserves it. He deserves it.
Gotta be honest, I wasn't expecting this, so that's a surprise.
For the past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in. They put up rules. I've never seen rules like you had to have 65% of the vote in order to run, little things like that. His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth? And I don't think I've ever introduced anyone that got applause like he just got. I must tell you, I don't think it's true. I don't think I've ever introduced anybody that got applause like that. Amazing. It's true.
Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing, obviously, but I want to hear kind of what gets said here at the beginning, and then we'll jump into the topic. But this is just breaking news here. Again, as mentioned in the chat, it's only 30 minutes old. Might as well touch on it.
Nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month. Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you. He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
All right. Okay. All right. That's a big statement there.
And they will also conduct a
This is kind of a trip,
review of the
be
attack
honest.
last month. But I tell you, I have never had more people ask me, please, sir, release the documents on the Kennedy assassination. And we're going to do that. And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food.
You know, I'm going to say,
that's why today I'm repeating my
again,
to establish a
he
panel
may have made one of the best speeches of this election cycle so far. But Robert Kennedy brought up exactly what we've talked about on this show and on Pop's show. Looks like we have a delay. I don't know what is with latency lately, but we have latency tonight. Go figure. He mentioned poison in the food, and that under his uncle's administration, that didn't happen. People weren't diabetic. They didn't have autism at this rate, ADHD, all these other things. People weren't obese either. And we've talked about it on this show, how diet is important, and that 80% of the grocery store is pretty much poison. And he brought it up. And that's part of his plan. That's the legacy he wants to leave behind, is to clean up the garbage. First in the Ukraine war, which he aligns with Trump on. And then there was the food issue. There was a third one too, and it eludes me now. But essentially everything he said today, I have to say I 100% align with. And then he came out and said, I'm going to work with Trump to do this. Pretty cool. Let's get back into this. He's back on stage here.
Thank you, President Trump.
This is pretty cool, man. I don't care what side you're on. This is pretty cool to see.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Nees, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA.
Oh, that's right. Shutting down federal agencies that are corrupt. That was his other big one.
And these institutions, these regulatory agencies are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies.
Right.
That they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic.
Dude, after my own personal experiences and talking to you guys about it and seeing you guys change your lifestyles and get
Our
healthy,
children are healthy,
I 100% back this.
Sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy.
You remember a speech years ago? We are opposed as a society to secret societies. Certain someone said that, certain someone related to this gentleman here. It's almost like that promise is finally being fulfilled. We'll see, of ending these secret societies and I would say deep state elitists that are actually controlling this government. This may be the moment, but this is part of, ironically, the fourth turning. This is supposed to happen. This has to happen. Part of the 80-year cycle that we'll get into here in a few. Let's go back to this, though. Enough yapping from me.
And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. And don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms?
This is a trip, man.
And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism? And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease?
100%.
And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
I absolutely loved it. Loved it. John's comment on the screen there. Agree. Absolutely agree. if you want to watch the rest of this, you can find it. I wanted to hear what he had to say live on stage with Trump there. That that's cool, man. Like I said, I think he's very well spoken. I agree with a lot of what he wants to get done, and it does. It sounds like conspiracy theory because, as we've been proven time and time again, conspiracy theories are just about 3 to 4 weeks from being facts. So, and it is. It's true. There is so much wrong with our medical system, our food system. You know, they don't, and this is a conspiracy theory, right? It's a fact. They don't profit off of healthy people. Ozempic, for example, the details coming out on the side effects from this are just astounding. They don't profit from healthy children or healthy adults. They want to keep you on a medication for the rest of your life that, quite frankly, you don't need. Most of this medication, I will flat out tell you again from experience, you do not need. A lot of things can be changed simply by improving your diet, which would improve your health, which would alleviate most of the problems you have: inflammation, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and on and on and on and on. So I support this 100% because to me, it's a big deal. There's a few of you that watch the show, are regulars, and you've unfucked your lives because of things that I've talked about, things that I've gone through. So, yeah, when he says it's the legacy he wants to leave, and this is what he said in his own speech, is that if he were to allow Kamala to win in 4 years, he may never have the opportunity to fulfill his legacy, which is to end what I mentioned tonight, which is to end the corrupt agencies, to stop this Ukraine war nonsense, and of course, to get poison out of our food, and to end anyone, FDA included, who would insist on continuously poisoning the American people for profit, which is what they're doing. It's not a conspiracy. It sounds like a conspiracy, but it's just a fact. We do have 2 people on a panel tonight. I have them in the back. We do have a lot to get through, so this is going to be one of these like quick reaction, then back to it things. We've got a mixture of article, video type, swap in and out, but we're living in interesting times. Whether you're watching this for the first time, you hate watching this from the opposite side, or whether you're a longtime fan now, or maybe you came from a pop show or what have you, you can't deny that we're living in a very interesting point in history. I think I stopped my thing here. Give me a chance to do this. I know it seems weird. There is a tracker. So when I do hand signals now, there's a reason I'm doing it. I'm trying to stay with the times, AI, the whole thing. Anyway, we're living in an interesting point in history. We'll be long gone when the books are written and people get to say, man, that was a cool point in time, or a scary point in time. Probably both. And that's what the fourth turning is about. It is a theory. It is a book, actually, but it is a theory that every 80 years, and we've hinted at this in several episodes in the past, that every 80 years there is a cycle. There's actually a lot of mythology that talks about this, and recent lore. Eye of the World, Robert, what is it? I don't want to get this wrong. I think it's Robert Frost. And then Tolkien, you have Lord of the Rings and all that, right? There's a cycle that repeats. This isn't something like new. It's been around in mythology forever. The 7 spokes of time and how things repeat. There's a high note and a low note, and things get good, and then they get bad, and then they go back to good again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you. Things are about to get real fucking bad. How's that good news, Rhino? Because that's when things get a whole lot fucking better. You just have to ride out the storm. And there are, and we'll talk about it more. We've got some articles here, some information to pull up regarding the fourth turning and where it's shown up historically in U.S. history and what happened in periods after the fourth turning. I'll give you a spoiler. It's a huge spoiler. You had the Great Depression, World War II, but then you had the 50s. If that thing jumps too much, it's brand new. It's still breaking in, and it's not the gimbal. It's a camera following a camera. So it's on a camera. So sometimes it gets jumpy when I move too much. Anyway, yeah. So the 50s, when, we had probably the wealthiest generation in history coming out of World War II. And since then, it's been a decline, which heads back to a fourth turning. Think of it just like spokes on a wheel. And at one point, perhaps that wheel has seen a lot more road than other parts of the wheel. That wheel might have patches and nails and rubber skidded off of it. That would be your fourth turning, your bad point. Then right after that, things do improve. We do have a panel here. I want the reaction to the RFK news we got today. This is breaking news. It just happened today. Now, they've been speculating for 3 days. I've been watching it. I kind of thought it was coming. It's a basic political play. But seeing these two together, this isn't like Ron Paul stepping down and saying, you know what, I gave it a go, but Mitt Romney, and he didn't really step down. He got shafted, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, in this case, I legitimately think it's an historic moment, and these fruit flies are really going to aggravate me every time. It's like this lighting, they all get attracted to. They all hang out in the plants the rest of the time, but the second I do a show, they're all in my face here. All right. Yes, I know. I should deal with the fruit fly problem with some soap and water, but I haven't yet. It's my bad. All right, panel. We have got MGTOW Mando patiently waiting in the back, as well as Billy Von Bomb. Again, panel, please keep responses within a reasonable amount of time, because we have a lot to go over. I'll just leave it at that. Here we go. Let's get them in. Good evening, gentlemen. I'll start with Mando. What are your thoughts about the news we just found out today and the speech we just heard? What do you think?
I've been speculating about this for actually a couple of weeks. Ever since the Republican convention, RFK really hasn't been in the news.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought he would have tried to rejoin the Democrats, but then after thinking about it further, they screwed him so thoroughly early in the campaign that honestly, I hope Trump gives him, if Trump gets in, I hope he gives him either director of CIA, DNI, or maybe FDA, given what we just heard.
Yeah, I would. I don't know what the legalities of where they can put him and all of that. I don't know. But if those two are working together and want to keep their promise to end corrupt agencies, they would be taking out the FDA, the CIA, the FBI. They'd be cleaning house, is my understanding. Now, we got promised last time to empty the swamp, and the swamp never got emptied, although there was a plan, Demick, that happened that may have thwarted some of those efforts. But I think after what we've seen the last 4 years, especially after Trump came this close, and I mean this close to not being with us, I think his motivations to sincerely empty said swamp are going to be a lot more sincere this time. What this feels like to me is a lot like what JFK said a week before. We all know how that played out. Actually coming to be here, but the fourth turning is a dark time in history, and in history, it's said that usually really bad things happen. So I am not necessarily of the belief that praying fixes everything, but if you are, I would be praying for these two men right now. If that is your belief and that's how you do things, I would be praying a lot for these two, because they're saying some things that have gotten people deleted in the past, and one has already almost been deleted. Billy, what are your thoughts, man?
So, good evening, first of all. You know, I hate to say this, but I think our RFK would have done better if his voice wasn't so, I don't know, I don't know if it's an issue with it's medical issue, or I'm not sure. I don't know the guy that well. And to be honest, I'm not a big Kennedy fan. I think the Kennedys, there's a lot of corruption in that family.
Sure.
I mean, Joe was he was a rum runner from what I remember, bootlegger. But in any case, this is definitely good for the Trump team, because I'm actually shocked at how well Kamala is doing in the polls. But then again, people who usually take polls are the Dems, because they're so excited. They want to tell you that they're voting, whereas the Republicans are like, fuck off. I know I don't answer any polls. And so I think, and plus, the Dems, they're it's just one big blob. So, if you've been watching any of these supercuts, they get these words that they go off on. So last week it was joy, like Kamala Harris is bringing you joy, like a politician is supposed to bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
And after the DNC, it was electrifying. Everything is electric. And there's literally, I forget, I think maybe it was Mark Dice. It's a supercut of like all these stupid reporters, journalists, whatever you want to call them, fucking propagandists, saying electric. Oh, it's electric. This is all electric. It feels so electric in the room. I mean, it's just like this whole thing is unbelievable that she's doing so well. And she hasn't put out any policies. Like there's literally no policies she has pushed except for the ones she's taken from Trump. So I think you're going to see, the Trump pulling away in the polls. I think the Kamala that's just going to deflate a bit, because she's really not rising, right? She's pretty just steady. So, this DNC thing was supposed to be, you should see a bump up in the polls, and that hasn't happened. So that tells anybody who knows anything, that tells you that she ain't a thing,
Right. There are a couple things I wanted to point out there. One, since we are a red pill channel, feminists are the ones that headed up the abolition of alcohol movement. So I have no problem with rum runners, to be honest. Plus they counted NASCAR, so I'm good with that. The other thing, really quickly, just jump in on your point. The DNC was underwhelming when they say electric and all of that. Sure, but who is talking about it? Not even probably your leftist friends, if you have any. Nobody was enthusiastic about it. Quite frankly, some of the things that were said and done there were a shit show, to say the least. But more importantly, you're seeing her numbers fall after the DNC. I might also add that because, as RFK said in his speech today, the media is controlled by the Democrat Party, I don't believe they're polling data anyway. RFK said it himself. This is propaganda. He didn't say that about the polls. He just said that about media in general. But why would I believe polls from the same organization that she had such low polls last time? She dropped out. She just flat out quit because she was so unwanted back then. I don't buy the polls. I don't believe the polls. Anyway, Mando, check your echo. You've got an echo.
Sorry, I'll mute myself in a second. I want to point something out that unfortunately is a bit of a black pill on this.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fairly nice conversation with my manager today at work.
Sure.
And this is a gentleman who is normally very intelligent, very well-spoken, well-read, and well-thought.
Mm-hmm.
And as he put it, he doesn't like either candidate, but he cannot support Trump. And he gave all the CNN talking points for the why.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate.
I didn't straight up ask him if he was planning to support Harris because, well, my boss. But for as many people out there that are waking up to the absolute fornication show that Harris is. Unfortunately, there's going to be just as many people like my boss who are otherwise intelligent human beings that are going to be taken in by all this. Well,
Bullshit.
I was going to try coming up with one of the words from an old sci-fi that would fit
Hell
this.
with it. We already got demonetized when they started playing Proud to be an American, so we're good. Anyway,
I'll mute myself so the echo isn't a pain in the ass.
all good. Jump in at any time. We got to get the ball rolling. But Billy, carry on, please.
Well, what I was going to say is I was going to continue on the Harris thing. So I heard a theory by Mr. Reagan, and it's kind of disturbing, and he might be on track for something. But, you know, there's an October surprise has been a thing for many, many election cycles. The last one was the Hunter Biden laptop, which was, you know, hidden away, and now it's been proven to be true. So Mr. Reagan, the YouTube channel, Mr. Reagan, not not President Ronald Reagan, who's been dead for quite a while, he says that he believes that Biden is going to step down right before the election, which then would effectively make Kamala the president. And then he believes that's going to propel her into the seat permanently, you know, for at least the next 4 to 8 years, which is a black pill that I just don't want to swallow.
I don't disagree with that theory. We've got to get past the delusion. Even the left can see it. Her day one was 4 years ago, not when she gets in office, if she does, which is a slim chance in hell, in my opinion. I mean, if it happens, like I said, we're already demonetized. If it happens, we're fucked. Because we know that there is no longer a fair and free election process in this country. Absolutely, at this point. There was a coup in that party. They placed her in a position. Obama wouldn't support her until some backdoor business went down, which we still don't know what happened there. But all of a sudden, he went from nope to, oh, absolutely. There's some stuff going on there. Biden is still confused whether he's in the race or not. It was a coup. She wasn't elected. There was no process in which that party was allowed to vote her in. And yeah, no, fine. If Biden steps down and she takes over, that doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm trying to erase the black pills the best I can, because I see pragmatically that she's proven time after time failures long before she was a vice president, in which she kept people that were due to be released from prison for cheap labor. Failures when in Minnesota, she helped people get bail that were burning down cities under her fucking vice president, Waltz there. So, I mean, she's got a track record. Again, in office, her only job as vice president was to go visit the border. And in interviews, she says, I haven't been to Europe either, but I don't see why it matters. Because it's your only job. Let me tell my boss when I go in tomorrow that I don't feel like I need to do any sales, even though that's specifically my job, and see how that goes over. I'll just tell him, I don't feel the need to. Why does it matter? And see how that goes over. I'm not going to do that because I'm not stupid, and neither should you be. When she says, when the left gaslights you and says, for 4 years, things are great. This is a strong economy. Everything's going well. Then they come out at the very end, 818,000 reported job loss 2 days ago, by the way. Things are moving rapidly here. I'm trying to keep up with everything while still doing the 9 to 5 and producing content for you guys. But yeah, 818,000 jobs. Poof. Okay. The Democrats started admitting right before Joe's little debate with Trump that, yeah, no, this all sucks. It's all bad. Yeah, the inflation is actually higher. And then with Kamala coming into play, they reverse right away. Oh, no, everything's great, but also everything sucks. And on day one, Kamala's going to fix everything her administration caused to begin with. You can't make this up, man. And
Well-
you have to be drinking some pretty fucking good Kool-Aid to believe any of it. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, that's the thing. They're trying to distance her away as though she is new to this. She hasn't been here. She's brand new, right? She hasn't been here for the last 3.5 years, causing, part of this problem. She is just as much in the part of it. I mean, she was the deciding vote on that whole, what was that nonsense bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, which just put the inflation into the stratosphere. And now, her propositions are they're so crazy. They're so far left. I just don't understand how anybody can be on board with this. Being somebody from my generation who grew up with the threat of communism and Russia's going to nuke us, and you don't want to live in a communist society because it's really bad over there. Like, our parents weren't lying to us when they were telling us this. They knew history. They knew that, when China went to that, people suffered and they died. And when Russia was in the midst of, Stalin and whatnot, people died left, right, and center and starved to death. And for some reason, this isn't either taught or people don't realize it. Like, this is what's going to happen. This is like the eventual end game of that. And it's shocking to me that people are like, yay, we're out there with the flags and having abortions in the back of vans at the DNC and just I don't get it. I mean, I kind of get it on a surface level, right? And this is why the Democratic Party appeals to a lot of women, because it's very, floofy and, oh, we'll take care of everybody. Yeah, everybody come in. It's open borders. It appeals to a motherly sense of wanting to care for people, right? Like a maternal sense. But when you when you really look at it, that's not what's happening. Obviously, that's just kind of a Disney thought of things that, we could take care of everybody, and that whole Imagine song, if there was, imagine there's no country, blah blah blah,
right.
And that's not reality. That is not fucking reality at all. And you need to live in reality, and these people aren't living in reality.
Well, here's the thing, man. The irony again, women in this Me Too movement and feminism and all this crap, they've been put through decades of gaslighting, and they have Stockholm syndrome for that party. That's what's really going on. But it's not so much surface level. Like, we can see it, man. It's not just surface level. This is why I do this channel. This is why I talk about this content. They've spent years creating a system of people that are too stupid to do anything but clock in, clock out, and repeat. They've intentionally dumbed down our education system. They've intentionally left people practically unaware of the environment around them. And then they push the boogeyman idea in everybody's face and say, we're the savior. We create the terrorists that we protect you from. Go back to sleep. It's a Tool song. You should look it up. Go back to sleep, right? And they're doing this. These flies, I swear, I'm going to get the alcohol spray out in about a minute. It's driving me nuts. But it's not even just surface level. This is intentional. They're doing it, but we can see it. We know, we're aware. I think even this party, as much as you could say, well, politics is just two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird, whatever. This party, this Make America Great party, is not like the Republicans of old. And these Democrats are not like the Democrats of old. They're flat out, like you're saying, they're very red, very, very red. And I don't mean in a good way. I mean in everything is mine and everything is yours, but it's also all mine, kind of way. Whereas this new Make America Great, Put America First party seems to be, I'm just going to put it out there, a bunch of conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones that are sick of this shit. That's it. That's what I'm seeing. I could be wrong, and history could go down completely different than I expect. But in what I'm seeing the masses that have woken up over, I would say, since, I mean, you could go back as far as you want. It's been going on forever. But I would say the 2001 and on people that woke up are finally saying, oh, yeah, no, this shit's been a lie since 1913 or before. But let's actually do something about it. Now, we can't spend too much time just on the back and the forth about both parties. We have done plenty of that. It's time to move on to the fourth turning. But there is a point here. All of this has to come to an end. This is going to get bad one way or another. I can't tell you how. I'm not pretending to predict anything. I'm not psychic. I have no knowledge of what's going on in the next 4 years. What I can tell you is that things have to happen, whether it be the housing bubble, the car bubble, the stock bubble. I mean, let's just fucking quit kidding ourselves. The everything bubble has to burst. There are wars and rumors of wars, not to get biblical, but those wars are either going to have to pop off, or there's going to have to be some serious escalation and de-escalation in the next few years to fix and rectify the mess that these countries are making. Quite frankly, our country has pushed Russia into partnering with BRICS. We have pushed them. Under the prior administration, this wouldn't have happened. This is all by design. Again, don't take the black pill. This has to happen. And I'll tell you why. Let's just get into it. Let's go to the first video I've queued up here. This is, we're in a fourth turning. What does that mean? Let's put that on screen here so you guys have a better grasp of what are we watching tonight. We've been talking about Trump and Kamala for a freaking hour now. What is a fourth turning? Let's talk about it. This is coming from a channel, Van Neestat. Let's see what he has to say here. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it could be Von Nistat. I don't know. But either way, it's a good video. Let's get into it. It's only 10 minutes, so we can actually probably digest this one pretty good.
This spirited man had been expecting this crisis. Maybe not a global pandemic per se, but he knew something was coming. For a decade, this spirited man had been reading books, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. His brother, a spirited man himself, told him to read this book, The Fourth Turning. This book turned out to be this spirited man's favorite kind of book, a mind blower. A book about how and when history repeats itself. And this is what the book said. History repeats itself in 80-year blocks called saeculum, but we'll just call them history blocks. Not exactly 80 years. This is history, not math, but roughly the span of a human lifetime, maybe 80 to 90 years. Within these 80-year history blocks, we have 4 turnings of around 20 years each. We usually call them generations. This book calls them turnings. Turnings are sort of like seasons, like spring, summer, fall, winter. Throughout our history, we've had these 80-year blocks, and the 80-year blocks have been remarkably similar to each other. We're in one now. The first turning, the first season, is a high, an upbeat era. The second turning is an awakening, a passionate era. The third turning is an unraveling, a downcast era. And the fourth turning, well, sorry, but fourth turnings suck. The fourth turning is a crisis, an era of upheaval. We're in a fourth turning right now. So let's take a look at our seculum, our history block, the history block that we're in the crisis of right now. Our high began after our World War II victory. By our, we mean America's. These are America's history blocks and turnings. During a high, the getting is good. We had the most even distribution of wealth during our high. You could work at a gas station and afford to buy a house. This high is the period that the MAGA hats refer to. We got Hank Williams and Elvis and Little Richard and the birth of rock and roll. We launched monkeys and men into space. This is when the Mustangs and Corvettes first came out. Our high ended with the assassination of John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. The high is not a high for everyone, of course. America still had a segregated South. Homosexuality was illegal and considered a mental disorder. The high is a period of conformity. The age of nonconformity and of social justice begins during the Awakening, our passionate era. During the Awakening, we had Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, acid, Vietnam protests and Vietnam itself, the women's liberation movement, Stonewall and the gay rights movement, great movies, great music. This is when the first Macintosh computer came out. The Awakening is a time of increasing individualism. This second turning, this awakening, ended with the re-election of Ronald Reagan in 1984. Things get messy during the third turning. During the unraveling, we got the fall of Soviet communism and the beginning of the Russian gangster state. The greatest musicians of the time sang about violence and decay in their deteriorating cities. The LA riots, OJ, the bombing of Bosnia, and the Columbine high school shootings on the same day. September 11th, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Our unraveling ended with the financial crisis of 2008. A fascinating fact about this book is that it was written during the last third turning, published in 1997. But the book predicts now, what's happening now in this fourth turning. And what's happening now is right on schedule. "80 years ago, in the last fourth turning, America had her Great Depression, then World War II. 80 years before that, the Civil War. 80 years before that, the Revolutionary War. Now it's our turn to save the country." So where do you fit into all this? What's your role? It depends when you were born. Each generation, each cohort, tends to embody a specific archetype. An archetype that will move the society towards the next high. Each generation's archetype is the characteristic that will define the generation in its prime, in midlife. The boomer archetype is the prophet. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs are boomers and prophets. Both predicted that one day everyone, not just big corporations and governments, would own a computer. Gates even predicted a crisis like COVID-19 5 years beforehand. The writers of this book are boomers and prophets. Gen X is the nomad generation. The quintessential Gen Xer, Elon Musk, builds things that move us from one place to another. Rockets, electric cars, hyperloops, nomadic devices. But the millennials, raised during the unraveling, will emerge as the hero generation during this crisis. These are the Parkland High students, the frontline hospital workers, and Malala Yousafzai. The book says millennials will be the World War II heroes of our history block. We don't know what Gen Z will do, but they will be an artist generation. From them will emerge the next Bill Withers, Toni Morrison, or Bob Dylan, all born during the last crisis, all from an artist generation. The history block before ours ended with World War II and began with the Civil War, 80 years prior. The history block before that ended with the Civil War and began with the end of the Revolutionary War 80 years prior. Every 80 years or so, something big comes along and changes everything.
All right. On that note, I'm going to jump back in momentarily. This covers everything you need to know, really. We do have a couple other things to discuss as well, but this is very interesting. So you have the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II. They all align within the 80-year period. That puts us right in line. I did see a comment in here, and again, right as I start talking, this fly shows up. It lands right on my hand just to spite me. Anyway, I hate flies. Okay, I love summer, but this is the only part of summer that I would delete is flies. And I know we'd be knee deep in corpses if they didn't exist, but go away. Anyway.
Come on, Mr. Clary, get on topic.
I'm working on it. I just right in my face when I'm trying to talk to you. It's kind of hard to stay on topic. Anyway, we're due. We are definitely due for our own. And like I said, I saw in the comments. Let me go back up to it. Here it is. So 60 to 70 years. Let me get that muted really quick. Hang on. 60 to 70 years of terror for a small moment of greatness. I refuse to play. I'll just live my entire life in my paradise, which is fine. And I get that. I understand that. As the old saying goes, though, you might not be into politics, but politics will always be into you. So I hope that they don't come for your paradise. But you can already tell they have. I mean, the myth of owning property is kind of funny. I don't know how we've gotten here as a country where you can buy a house, but you don't own the land, and you have to pay taxes on the land every year. You don't own the land. If you own the land, you wouldn't be paying taxes on it every single year. And if you miss taxes on it 1 year, even if your house is paid off, you lose the house. How are people like for a 3% tax on tea? A country was founded, and you and your family are being robbed blind of their wealth. And we're all just like, okay, just keep going. I'm just going to bend over a little further. You can get in there a little deeper. Astounding. Absolutely astounding. I don't know how
Perhaps
people
Rhino,
haven't. Go ahead.
Perhaps we should call ourselves the Bohica Nation.
Oh, don't get the reference, but please quickly fill me in.
Bend over, hear it again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the way, Broken Pine, haven't shipped it out yet, but I have not forgotten you. It is still in my email, so you will be receiving that package here shortly.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've seen this video before, and it's several years old, actually. And I actually did a live stream where I did his updated video, because if you watch this, right, you'll start noticing that timelines are off. Like, we should be deep into something at this point. And he also claims, as you know, what was said in this video, that the millennials are going to be the heroes and all that. And towards the end of this video, his thoughts were over this COVID thing. He thought that at the time, COVID was the real, like, big turn, and he says that, and he shows, like, the millennials, dancing and all this bullshit. So he was wrong on that. And he's also wrong on the generations. He's off on the years, by the way. Because the millennials go from like 81 to like 96 or 7, and he's got them all the way up to 2008. And that is the X, or not the X, the
Gen
Y, Z, sorry, generation. And now we're into Alpha. We're into the Alpha Gen. But so then he did an update to this video, which I did a live stream on it's probably more than a couple months ago, where he talks specifically where we're at in the timeline, and we are close. At least we were back when I did my live stream about this. We're very close to something really, really kicking off. But there has to be like a big thing. Like for World War II, it was Pearl Harbor, you know, these kinds of things. So
right. Yeah, no, and again, as I said, and I don't think even the writers are professing to know the exact date and the exact time, nor the creator of this video. This thing is really sketchy right now.
no, of course not. I mean, that would be like knowing the future and everything. And
Right.
of course, you know, there's going to be some bumpers on things, you know, that it's going to expand out where, you know, we're already really past the 20 years of something bad happening, and that big thing bad happened was 9/11 in 2001, and we're several years past the 20th anniversary of that. So, and that was supposedly the start of the what would be considered the fall, the you know, the crumbling of the country kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, if you have time, if you could show his updated video.
Yeah, shoot the link over. We'll actually cover that. What I want to get into here, this is just purely for paranoia's sake. I want to have fun with this just because yeah, there's an image that was created. I don't know if I have it. Maybe I don't. Oh no, it's actually in this image.
Sorry, Broken Pine. He corrected me. 2008 was the big flip.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
All right. In this image here, this is solely created from AI. I did merge two images together, but if you look at the numbers on here, you have 11.4 in the bottom, and this is just for conspiracy's sake because it's AI, and I asked it to put images of the fourth turning together. All right. I didn't ask it to put dates or numbers or anything, but it says 11.4, which is November 4th. Just hear me out here. This is pure paranoia for fun's sake. But if you look at the top, it says 2049, right? I'm not saying anything. I don't know. AI knows a lot more than I do, considering it can pull all information from the internet to create an image. But it says 11/14, or excuse me, 11/4. Doesn't say a year. It does say in the bottom, if you pull up the thumbnail, if you go back and pull up the thumbnail, it has a start date and an end date, which I did not ask it to make, but the end date is 2049. Just very interesting that it chose those dates. This fly has got to go. We're going to do this on air. Yep, that's happening. You can't even see me. I am spraying alcohol at this fly. I am so sick of these things. I've got a bottle of alcohol. It knocks them down and kills them, but I've got to catch them as they're flying by. It's driving me nuts. It really is. Every time I do a show now, they're just all up in my face. All right.
Would you like me to go ahead and hit everyone with that quote that I gave you before the stream?
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
Okay. This doesn't have any dates associated with it, and because it comes from a Japanese anime, it's loaded with dime store philosophy. But anyone who's ever watched Gundam Wing's OVA movie, Endless Waltz, there's a scene right near the end of that movie where the really delusional quasi-main villain says to one of the major characters, "History is a constant endless waltz of war, peace, and revolution." And the quote, I might have the quote effed up there, but we are essentially seeing that same thing with the concept of the fourth turning. Only instead of it being broken down into 4 categories, you just have the 3 categories. You have a period of peace, you have a period of revolution, and then you have a war to fix the revolution. I think we're seeing the very beginning, either the very ending of the revolution stage or the very beginning of the war stage.
I would. I'm gonna put my two cents in the ring here. I haven't had a chance yet. I would say I would say 2001 is not the beginning of the fourth turning. I would say 2008 was. I would say it's being artificially propped up by government agencies that have not wanted you to be aware that we never quite got out of a recession. And in the years since, they have been propping up an already failing state. I would say that COVID certainly awoke the masses, if you will. A lot more people are aware of just how dirty our system is. And that's where I put it. I would say I agree with Billy that we are just one major incident away from things actually going down here. But we're already in the fourth turning. We just need that moment to pop off, because keep in mind, the fourth turning technically started during the Great Depression, but it didn't really pop off until World War II. That's a huge gap there if you think about the years between the two. But yet it's all part of the fourth turning, which led to the end of World War II in the 1950s. And I suppose you could say it never really ended because Cold War and everything else. But if you look at culturally, things definitely did change quite a bit from the 40s to the 70s. I would say drastic changes, actually. But if you look at 2008, I would place it here. If I were to, and I'm not going to put on my psychic hat. I don't have one. I just have a Trump hat and a Turtles hat and Jurassic Park hat. I don't have a psychic hat. But if I were to place it 2008 to 2032, don't ask me why. My feeling is 2032 is the end, which means we are about to just see the shit show. That's my speculation. Again, we can only look back on this video years later and go, Rhino was full of shit, or yeah, maybe he was right, but I don't know right now. We've got MGTOW Outlaw on the show as well. I want to get him on here to give his opinion. Then we got to get back into these videos and articles. We've been waffling on a bit tonight. I've been yelling at flies. We got to get the show on the road. Let's
I put the update in the chat, by the way. It's the second.
I did. I got it popped up already. Yeah, let's get Outlaw in here. He's got some background noise. I muted him, but let's get him in here and see what he has to say about this. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much. I didn't know what that was. I don't know what's going on with the mic, but was it on my end?
Yeah, you've got like it's been the last few weeks, and it's no fault of your own, but it almost sounds like you have a fish tank or a fan. Yeah. Or maybe even street noise. There's something in the background that just makes a lot of hissing. That almost alleviated it. Yeah, it's a lot better now. Whatever that is, that's the issue.
That was the fan.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Heck yeah. All right,
man. So what are your thoughts on this whole fourth turning, or even because you jumped in a little bit late? I don't know if you caught RFK's speech there with Trump, or you heard the news today. But what are your thoughts on any of that today, sir?
I'd have to see a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of jumped in a little bit late. So,
okay,
what are we basically talking about here?
Well, currently we are on the fourth turning, essentially. And we'll get back into this video. I'll actually probably rewind it a minute or so we can get caught up again. But every 80 years or so, not to be specific, but or so, there is something that happens to reset life in general. The Civil War was one. The Revolutionary War was one. World War II was one. We're overdue. We've talked about this several times. Crusader has brought it up on several shows as well. I feel like it was never properly addressed, so I wanted to go over it tonight. Essentially, just think of it like this. Things get really good for a while, and then they get less and less good, and then they go to absolute hell, and then everything resets. We are in everything's about to go to absolute hell period of history based on the timeline. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We're almost done with this outdated video. and then we'll pop up Billy's new version, and we'll go from there. Let's get through the rest of this one, and then we'll get more of a discussion between the panel here on their thoughts. Again, ladies, gentlemen, we cannot tell you the hour nor the day when this pops off. We can't do it. Nobody on this panel is going to claim to be psychic. I'm certainly not going to do it. There's a few things that have me curious. There's a reason I picked 2032. We can discuss that more later. But we can't say. All I know is if I were to place it, 2008 was where it really popped off. 2001 was the end of the third turning. 2008 is where the fourth turning really, really started. And we've just been living a dream ever since. Wish Crusader was here tonight. I know he's busy. He's doing interviews and stuff, but let's jump back into this video.
Hang on. Shadow Sonata actually called up the quote that I mentioned earlier.
All right. I got to go through. All right. I got to go through these chats anyway. I'll bring them up on the screen. By the way, if you want to support the show, we do have super chats, of course, on YouTube, Rumble, and MGTOW.TV, as well as that thing. It's always backwards on my screen. That thing over there, you can always do Cash App donations or PayPal. We have that too in the description of the chat. But if you have a super chat, I will read it live on air. I'm trying to put your chats on the screen as we're going through the show, but bear with me as they're rolling through. I'm probably now 30 minutes behind on chats. So let's get back into the video. I'll go through the chats and we'll get Shadow Sonata's quote up here momentarily. Jumping back in.
And now we're at the end of our history block, right in the middle of our crisis. We're in the process of changing our world again. The authors of The Fourth Turning tell us that these crises are like forest fires. Unpleasant, but necessary, they clear the woods for new growth. As we work towards our next high, this crisis will tilt the playing field away from the old and towards the young, they tell us. But the victory is not guaranteed. We will, each of us, need to rise to the occasion during this crisis. We will need to develop and fortify our virtues as we pursue a greener pasture. Our Western society was built to foster the potential of each individual within it. The aggregate effort of individuals keeps it going. The spirited man wonders, what is his role? What verse must he contribute to help extinguish the crisis? This spirited man is told that his cohort, Gen X, is the repair generation, the one stuck with fixing the messes and cleaning up the debris left by others. Cleaning, fixing, repair. This particular spirited man, from the last pre-digital generation, the last of the analogs, just happens to have a particular knack for repair and for fixing. Perhaps his nomad generation is tasked with ferrying his society from one saculum, from one history block, to another. But where does he start? Well, the zip line at the community center playground has been broken for over a year. And this particular spirited man happens to have the tools to fix it.
So there you go. There is that video. We also had, well, we did have, looked like Jackal had joined us. He dropped out. That's all right. Panel, let's get your thoughts. I'm going to go through some of these chats while you guys are chatting here.
Yeah, I remember it now. I'm remembering the video. I didn't like how it ended. I mean, he's trying to end it on an upbeat kind of thing, you know, but it's like at the time it was it was like just 2021. People were still wearing masks, it's the whole thing with the pandemic. And he's like, hey, let's go fix the zip line at the thing. And maybe that'll help things. Maybe if we, do this, that, and the other thing, that'll help. But yeah, the whole fourth turning at the end is going to be a shit show. But my personal belief, and I hate to even think about it, is that there's going to be another attempt. And by attempt, I mean on the guy. I don't want to say it because I don't want to get you knocked off or whatnot. But you know what I mean.
Right. I agree. I don't think it's over. Here's the thing. No matter what your beliefs are, and I know our audience is primarily either libertarian or right conservative. I'm aware. I'm very aware. But the few of you watching that are not, I don't know how it's not blatantly obvious to you that, we've had left-right crap for years. Bush was, when I was a kid, I didn't know better. As an adult, absolute garbage. We had Clinton, garbage. Barack, fucking worse than garbage. Reagan, I guess there's some policies I didn't like. Nixon, I'm finding out more and more, is not the bad guy in the story. But either way, we've had shit for a long time. I got to go through mics really quick. Please mute yourself if you have background noise. I'm just trying to keep it clean for the show tonight. All right. I guess my point is that this party that we have now, this camera we've got so many issues on the show tonight. I guess it's just a learning curve with some new stuff here. We've had a shit shows for so long on the left and right that nobody has any faith in anything on either side anymore. But I want you to really look at, before you black pill, before you say everything's fucked, everybody sucks, before you Fred Durst this, like you guys are talking about earlier, be aware that the voting base that supports this guy here is not your average just rhino, not like this guy here, which is just named after an animal, not Republican in name only. I remember when I first started this show, that was actually, what the fuck are you? Yeah, no, just the animal. But this party now, and I've said it before on this show tonight, they're not your typical Republicans. They want to fix this country. They want to end the corruption. They want to stop the bullshit. They see the FBI as a worthless tool of the left. They see that the CIA is basically training our future terrorists to start wars with, to keep pumping in opium and oil and keep the illusion that we are always under threat of an attack. We know this. This isn't even conspiracy. I'm not even talking conspiracy. We know this is the case. This is reality. And the current right, if you will, right, is fully aware of it. Yeah, I'm sure there's some idiots that just go along with it because they've always voted right and whatever, just like the left. But for the most part, I see this voting base as intelligent, fed up, sick of the shit people that have decided, rather than using acts of violence like burning down cities for a certain skin color that was funded by George Soros, it was all a lie, and you're a fool if you participated in that. These people actually want to fix this country without bloodshed or violence. Is it possible? I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is at least they give a damn and they're trying. Do I know if that's going to work out? I don't know. I have no clue. We'll go through these chats a little bit more and get back to the panel. But this is not your grandfather's Republican Party. It's not your father's Republican Party. This is not the Republican Party that I grew up with. And thank fuck for that, because it sucked. And I'm glad that it's been co-opted by people that actually give a fuck. Usually when a group is co-opted, it's a bad thing. In this case, I'm glad people that actually love this country took it away from the scumbags that have been running this place into the ground for decades now. Anyway, back to the panel. I got to get through this chat really quick. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and point something out. When you were talking about the communism earlier, I had a relative who worked in education for several decades, and she told me when I came home on leave one time that she was absolutely stunned by how do I say this? Willing to embrace Soviet ideologies. Many of the college students were at the time. She actually got to the point where she stopped accepting student teachers because of the level of nonsense that they were trying to push. And that particular relative retired from teaching about 5-6 years ago.
Anybody else want to jump in? Like I said, I'm still catching up on chats here, so bear with me. All right.
We don't want to have dead air.
No, dead air is a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. So I've kind of lost track of what we were talking about, to be honest. But with the fourth turning, you know, I think there's going to be something big coming up within the next few months, to be honest. And it's been talked about on these channels and several others with, you know, like Pop has been saying how he gets these gut feelings, something's bad's going to happen. His EPS has been going off for some time. So yeah. Not 2001. We know Broken Pile. Oh, you're just putting up those comments from before. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going as quick as I can. We are way behind.
Well, then don't worry about the comments.
Yeah, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, the three ladies that watch the show, this is why we are doing super chats only. I'm trying to be as respectful to you for commenting as I can, but as you can see now, I'm falling behind to where we're like 30 minutes behind on chats. So I'm going to stop at this one. If you want your comment read on air, please just super chat. I don't care if it's a penny, but that way I can actually pay attention to you guys that are wanting your comments read on here, and I'm not just putting everything up. All right.
You don't want to mess with Rhino's ADHD. That's
no. It's I feel like I'm falling behind here. Yeah, I got flies in my face. The camera's going crazy on me, and then the chat's way behind, and
too many things happening to take your attention.
Yes.
Well, I know I would do my usual semi-snarky jokes on you, but I got the impression you wanted this to be more of a serious stream than
trying
show that I usually cause it to be.
Yes, trying.
That's why I'm trying to behave myself tonight for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and jump into the next video, which is the updated version. I was going to do the part 2, Billy. There was actually a part 2.
The part 2 is really just a shortened version of what we just watched.
All right, so we'll skip the part 2. We'll go straight to the updated version. Here we go. Let's get this on screen and get the show on the road. I'm not even pushing buttons right at this moment, so let me push the right buttons, get this on screen. Man, I'm having a rough go of it tonight. Here we go.
That's what happens when you don't stream enough. You have practice.
That's what happens when life gets in the way, sir.
No, not this one. This is the wrong one. Remember I said the second one.
We are getting rid of that one, and let me go back in here.
Hey guys, did we misplace or did we misplace Outlaw?
Yeah, he took off. I'm not sure what happened there.
He said he was having a problem with his mic.
Okay.
I see it in the chat, the private chat.
I'm really getting tired of getting dive bombed by flies while doing this show. I'll tell you that. It's not helping.
So where are you getting the fruit flies? Are they from your plants or?
A full-on big-ass fly in this case.
Okay. You're making
It's
your
both.
camera go crazy, by the way.
I know. It's a
So
whole
what?
thing.
While you're trying to figure things out, if you go like walk back there by your toy collection by Toys R Us, will the camera like zoom in?
No, it won't zoom in. It'll just follow. This is not the gimbal. This is just a little
Okay.
like rotating cylinder. Is all this one is, which
So
is
we
not
weren't
as.
we weren't going to get like the Antiques Roadshow, like you can go back there and present
No,
part of
no,
your collection.
not yet. The technology is there. We just don't have it. I'm on a budget.
Right.
So
Well,
bear with me.
it's what we could work towards. So, guys, donate to Red Pill Rhino so that he can zoom in and he can take you on a tour of all his little toys back there.
All right. I believe this is the one, but this is the one that I was going to present. So we're right on track. If I'm
okay.
right, let me go ahead and.
I think it's called Hard Rain.
No, I have pre-World War II versus now is what's in the chat.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah, I think Hard Rain was the second. So, yes,
That
pre-World War II.
That's the same one I was going to show. So we're good. Yeah. We're on the same page. All right.
Sorry.
Get the show on the road here. I can't even figure out what button press here. That one. There it is. Finally, we're caught up. All right. There it is. Let's press play here.
Right now?
No. Everything's fine. All right.
Hard rain's gonna fall means something's gonna happen.
At about the midpoint of The Fourth Turning is Here, the author maps our crisis in relation to historical fourth turning patterns. The book is called The Fourth Turning is Here, What the Seasons of History Tell Us About How and When This Crisis Will End. And here we have two timelines. The timeline of our previous fourth turning, the World War II crisis, and of our current millennial crisis. As we fill in these timelines, we get an idea of where we currently are in our crisis and get an idea of what may be coming based on the patterns of our previous history blocks. Is preceded by a precursor that occurs towards the end of the previous third turning. The precursor event shows that while our society may be unraveling, we still have the chutzpah to meet a national challenge. The precursor to the World War II crisis was the U.S. involvement in World War I. The country was against it, but once we went in, the country supported it. The precursor to our millennial crisis was the 9/11 attacks and our subsequent involvement in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. According to the book, a precursor briefly foreshadows the mood of the coming crisis era by showing how a society aware of its own weakening civic instincts can still galvanize and rise up to meet a new challenge. A catalyst is an event that marks the beginning of the fourth turning. The catalyst puts us in crisis mode. We see the catalyst coming, but we don't prevent it. When the catalyst arrives, we fall into a mood of pessimism and paralysis. The catalyst that began the World War II crisis era was the 1929 stock market crash. The Great Depression followed. The catalyst that began our crisis was the 2008 financial crisis. During a regeneracy, people start to get pissed off and politically active. People begin to organize themselves into groups. Political groups, racial groups, class groups, ideological groups.
Well, that sounds about right.
Regeneracies generally occur in two phases.
Hey, pause for a second right now.
That sounds pretty accurate. All right, go ahead and jump in there.
Okay. This is something that's been bothering me about the way they've been discussing the fourth turning just in general. They're very much American centric on this, which I get it. The authors were American. That's where they're going to want to focus most of their energies on. But if you actually look back historically, this is a ongoing pattern, yes, but the timelines have been accelerating. What happened when I know you're not religious, but what happened to the Catholic Church in the 1500s?
Just go ahead and answer the question.
The Protestant Reformation.
All right.
That could have been classified as a miniature fourth turning. But the other thing I'm also going to point out with all of this is the nature of these events that we are talking about. You're not going to have something that's going to be a massive worldwide conflagration every time something occurs. A country itself can suffer from its own internal fourth turning that does not have anything to do with the outside influences of other nations. And you just got to look back at history for that one.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We're probably gonna just watch this one and then discuss and wrap up. It's happening now. I'm seeing in the chats. You guys are aware of it. They're not admitting to it. We know what's going on. It's going to take one or two more things, in my opinion, before things get really, really hairy, right? But we're there. But let's focus in on what he's saying here, because he's making a point. I'm actually going to back it up a few seconds, because we need to hear this. The divisions that he's talking about are happening as we speak. It almost feels as if somebody is intentionally forced us back 60 years. Yeah, you can definitely see it. So let's just go ahead and keep watching this here.
Regeneracies generally occur in two phases. During the World War II crisis fourth turning, Regeneracy 1 was the election of FDR in 1932, 9 years before the U.S. entered World War II. It was during FDR's inaugural address when he said,
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
He was talking about the Great Depression, not World War II. Folks elected him because he said he would end the Depression. FDR was way less informed about economics than his opponent, Herbert Hoover, but the electorate elected FDR anyway because they were sick of Hoover and the Great Depression that Hoover presided over. The electorate was pissed off, and they wanted the Depression to end. FDR said he would wage a war against the Depression as if it were an invading foe. His election and inauguration speech regenerated a sort of team spirit that had been missing from the country during the Roaring Twenties. The Roaring Twenties were a third turning era of increasing individuality.
Can you pause it?
Regeneracy.
Yeah, I actually want to jump in here, Billy. Give me just a second.
Yep.
Before I lose my train of thought again. You saw this. So let's say 2001 to 2008, maybe even, let's just push that further. Let's just say 2008 to 2019. All right, let's really start there. What you noticed was something similar to the Roaring Twenties, where the Rainbow Mafia became super popular and forced themselves into every situation, every group, every opportunity they had. The decadence, the OnlyFans, all of it, just the decay, the rot. A lot of people look at the 20s like it was great, but really it was a lot of degeneracy. And we're seeing that again here in the last, like I said, 2008 to 2019 is what I would place it. Billy, jump on in there.
Well, I was going to say, you can also, so I like how he put this together, because World War II and the events, most people are familiar with them or somewhat familiar with them. So we can kind of correlate our own timeline. And I think you could say that our regeneracy, right, where he's talking about the uniting of the country, you can say that was the Obama era, right? Because he had his coalition, and there's no blue states, there's no red states, right? We're all the United States. That bullshit that he was saying, but undercover, I mean, he was doing some bullshit. But the left view him as the savior of the country, and what a great person he is, and all this bullshit. But so that's just something I noticed.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think where we're at now, and I keep pointing this out, we're at the end of the shit show. I don't know what day it happens. I don't know what kicks it off, but we're at the end of the shit show. So you've seen our first turning, our second turning, our third turning, most of which happened either before our lifetimes or at least at the end, the beginning of our lifetimes, I should say. Most of us have been living through the third for quite a while, which is the decline, essentially, which makes sense because I don't know about you, but if I look back to my childhood till now, man, it's all been the downhill side of the roller coaster, and it's not even been fun. Like, it's just been a very slow slope into the shit show. It's not even a fun roller coaster where it does this and then this again. It just, fuck you. for the last 30 years, just slowly. It started off pretty good and then just fuck you ever since. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Let's get back to it.
We're looking at the pre-Visigoth invasion of the fall of Rome.
Right. Well, we're pretty fucking close. I wouldn't say we're looking at that anymore. I would say we're doing the exact thing that caused Rome to fall. And I mean exact thing by everything. We have demoralized our culture. We have incentivized hedonism. We have weakened our military. We have allowed immigrants into our country illegally. We have done everything that led to the fall of Rome, including thinking, and this is the big one, that it can't happen here. We have collectively done that, and that was our downfall. We have got to press play. I've got to jump back in. Let's get back to this. It would help if I pressed the right button. All right, there we go.
Regenerates a sense of community or commonality. A regeneracy regenerates a sense of common mission. But sometimes a regeneracy splits the nation in two. Two teams, each with their own ideas about how to overcome the crisis at hand. Our millennial crisis regeneracy was the 2016 presidential election, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Both sides were pissed off about the way things were going in the years after the great financial crisis of 2008. Both sides hated their opposing presidential candidate. Donald Trump supporters hated Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's supporters hated Donald Trump. Each of the two factions began to regenerate a sense of unity that had unraveled during the highly individualistic days of the booming 90s and early 2000s. When I was growing up in the 1990s, young people almost never talked about politics or political issues. And since the 2016 election, it feels almost as if we Americans are at war.
My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. StreamYard is shitting the bed lately. We do have some super chats to read. Let me make sure I've cleared out MGTOW.TV. Yeah, it's quiet over there. It's been quiet over there for months. But on Rumble, where we're growing, hint, hint, subscribe over there because Rumble is doing great. YouTube is just awful. Anyway, Broken Pine 284 for $2 over there. The Deep State will try to yeet RFK Jr. next. He also says, again, for another $5. I wish I could pop him up on screen, but it doesn't show me in StreamYard, so I have to physically go over there and check. It's unfortunate because we used to be able to pop up on screen here. Anyway, Broken Pine says, again, for $5, the housing bubble in China is the biggest in history. $2,500 for one-bedroom apartment rent in Calgary is retarded. Yeah, I would say so. That's extreme anywhere for a one-bedroom apartment. He also says, again, for Broken Pine, you were just funding the show tonight. Thank you so much, sir. Broken Pine 284 for another $5. Time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. Broken Pine 284 again for $2. Thank you so much, sir. Take my fake fly-filled cash. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I've been having a rough go tonight. I was planning on just like charging in with this video and knocking it out, and I've just had setback after setback. I've even turned off the camera tracking. It's back on now. It does. It's cool. I do this, it stops it. No more tracking. I do this, it tracks it. But it's been like knocking itself over, tracking me as I leave the room for a moment while we're watching a video. It's a whole mess. So
can I just comment real quick on Broken Pine had mentioned Vancouver's housing market.
Yeah.
So that right there is a perfect example of communism. You'd be like, communism? What are you talking about? So China is a communist society, whether people want to, pretend it is, it isn't, it is.
Definitely is, yeah.
But they allow you to gain wealth. However, at any time, the commies in China can come take your wealth, as they have been known to do. So what guys in China do who have wealth, they bring their wealth over to Canada, Vancouver, and they buy up homes and apartments, and they basically park their money in Canada so that the Chinese government cannot take their money, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't live in the apartment, they don't live in the house, and they don't rent it out. So now you got a whole bunch of property just sitting there, not being used. It's become a real problem in Vancouver. That's why I'm kind of bringing this up. And it all has to do with communism and how people are afraid that the communists are going to take their wealth over there in China. Yeah. So they park it. And I believe, from what I understood, to some of the people I know out there, they want to change the laws so you can't just buy property and just let it sit there and not do anything with it. Just park your money, basically. So,
yeah. Listen, Shinobi One, I know the proper way to do the OK sign, but that would make everybody watching an instant meat gazer, and we can't be doing that. So we're just going to have to stick to it up here. But even then, did you see it tracked my hand as a head for a minute? That is not cool. We're going to have to, I think it's the lighting, to be honest. It's not, or it's the, million things behind me and it's getting confused. I don't know. It worked when I tested it, but now that we're doing it, it's stupid. But whatever. Shadow Hunter 017 for $2. How do we send you Confederate money? I don't know, man. I don't know. You'd have to ask Jimmy about the Confederate money. He knows all about just the tip when it comes to Confederate money. All right. Let's get back into this video really quick. It sounds like there's some stuff going on the other side of the internet with, oh yeah, not on the internet, real life. Looks like Vincent and Jimmy are going to get beers. That's pretty cool. All right, let's get back into this really quick so we can move on with this video.
With folks whose politics differ from ours. It seems as if there is nothing that can unite us. During the previous first regeneracy, FDR enacted his New Deal programs, trying to put people back to work and get the economy working again. Labor unions gained power, and the American Communist Party gained popularity. The industry versus labor battle seemed almost like a civil war.
We workers have nothing in common with the employers. We're in a class struggle.
That is that is also true today. So not much has changed. This is the feeling of a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people in general, whether it be my generation, the younger generation, or even the older generations now. They all say this is all bullshit. There's no reason to, and no, I know some of you are going to probably argue, well, the reason is paying bills and keeping the economy going and everything. But I have to again argue, I'll argue this till I'm probably dead. We are the only animals stupid enough to pay to live on this planet. And I get it. Fucking civilization. The roads have to be paved. Who's going to pay the tax? I've heard all the fucking stupid arguments. But honestly, you are exchanging your time, which as far as I'm concerned is one life, for the profit of people that hate you. I find that astounding too. I'm not a fucking communist by any means. I just think this system it's the movie Ants, or not Ants, A Bug's Life. Which one? Is it Ants? It is Ants with the grasshoppers. They're the government essentially. And that one grasshopper says, if the ants ever fucking knew that they could take us down, we'd be in a fuckload of trouble. That's paraphrasing, but we're all the fucking ants. And we're just all living in this system, wasting our literal only life that I know of. For what? To prop up some CEO in his bank account until he's old and crusty and passes it down to his egotistical fucktard of an offspring? That's what we're wasting our time, the thing we cannot get back for? I don't know. That's just my spiel on that. I think it's retarded. I think the system is anything but civilized. I think it's fucked. And I think we're all just convinced that wage slavery is the correct way to live when it's not. But I digress. Let's get back to the video. Things have not changed since the Great Depression is all I'm saying. It was fucked then. It's fucked now. It's going to continue to be fucked until people realize life is worth more than exchanging time for a paycheck. But anyway, let's move on.
In Minneapolis, the Teamsters strike effectively paralyzes the city, and class war threatens.
Oh, you
the
know,
Yale Club of
actually,
Minneapolis.
I have more to add to that because I'm in the trenches. I've been a contractor forever. You guys know I went back to corporate America. I'm in the trenches. I can see it. They're already doing the same shit they did back then that led to these riots. They're asking you to work longer hours in order to receive their pay. They're asking you to do the job of 5 people for the pay of 1. They're doing this again. They're repeating history. Shocking. They're repeating history, the whole point of this video, again. They're stripping you down as a resource that is disposable, using every last ounce of you they can. And when you can't or won't or burn out and say, fuck this, I've had enough, they replace you. But they do it in a devious way, in the fact that the person that replaces you then makes less than you did to do more than you did. And on we go. The requirement right now, in my position that I'll be heading towards, is 50 hours a week for the pay of 40 to run every single component of operation that you can. Essentially, what you're being told is you better know how to run this on your own because we're not employing anybody new. And if anybody quits or gets fired, you take up the mantle of all of their positions. You see where this starts getting fucky? They're doing the same thing that led to the shit we're seeing on the screen here in black and white. They're exploiting people, and people are getting fed the fuck up with it. I'm only talking about mine as a comparison. I could give a fuck less. I know what I signed up for, but I'm saying you're seeing more and more and more blatant corporate exploitation of their workforce in a time when the world has inflation up the ass. It astounds me that they can sit here and smile at you while they are just bending you over without a reach around as best they can. Which leads to everything you're seeing in this video again, and leads to dire consequences. The fourth turning. Here we go.
Leads an anti-labor march in which 2 strikers are killed. In Georgia, Governor Talmadge sets up concentration camps for strikers.
Right. Now, that's something I didn't know about these concentration camps set up. I want to research this more. But you remember the unions that set up the 40-hour work week, which is supposed to help people have, I guess you would say, a better work-life balance. That wasn't their initial reason. But yes, sure, better work-life balance. And they're pushing the envelope again. Work more, work more, work more, do more. Do this guy's job and this guy's job and this guy's job. Work longer hours. It's required for your position now. They're doing it again. They're doing it again. They're reversing what the unions did, and they're doing everything they can to force the unions out. I know some of you are going to say unions are worthless. They charge you money and do nothing. Fine. But the initial unions that were set up to protect the employees absolutely had a purpose. Maybe they're hollow shells of what they once were, but they were there to protect you. And now these CEOs, these corporations, they're aware of that. They're keeping the unionization as far the fuck away from these entities, these corporations as they can, and fucking you and knowing it and celebrating. And again, you're replaceable. You get one life. When you're dead, they replace you the next day. They don't care. They really don't. I will tell you from experience, they don't care. They will look for reasons to remove you. They don't value you. They don't give you pensions, 401ks that are worth a damn anymore. They don't care about you. They will exploit you for labor, and they will look to replace you the second you behave like a human being. We've got a real problem here, and it doesn't end well. History repeats, at least, if not repeats, rhymes.
Meanwhile, actual war was breaking out in Europe, and Americans were further split on whether or not the U.S. should get involved. The second regeneracy, the second come-together moment came.
By the way, panel, jump in at any time, but we're seeing this again with the Ukraine war. Again, people are divided whether or not we should be involved, whether or not what they're saying the Ukraine war actually is even legitimate. But we're having the same issues again here. Panel, at any time, just tell me to pause and jump in, and I'll do so. I have a lot to say about it because it's all the same shit. You're seeing it again, which is the whole point of this video. It is the fourth turning. It is the cycle repeating. We're watching it. This is well done. I'm glad Billy shared it. We had it on tap anyway, but I'm glad we brought it up because this is very important. You're seeing it with your own eyes, things that are comparable to what you're watching on the screen here from decades ago, right? It's the same shit, different day. Here we go.
During the spring and summer of 1940, Germany took over France, and Germany began bombing Britain. Imagine getting that news. Germany has taken over France, and now Germany is bombing England. Southern congressmen who hated FDR now agreed with him that the U.S. should prepare for war. This preparation for war began to regenerate the sense of unity that had split because of political disagreements and industry versus labor battles. We have not yet entered our crisis's second regeneracy. We have not yet experienced our fourth turning's fall of France or Battle of Britain. And obviously, there's no guarantee that we will experience a second regeneracy. But according to the book, fourth turnings unfold in a pattern of events and reactions. And here is how the World War II fourth turning unfolded in relation to these fourth turning patterns. At some point after achieving its final regeneracy, society experiences a consolidation, the moment when all members of the dominant new community understand that they are engaged in an ultimate struggle for survival. While hopes and fears mount, uncertainty subsides, everything rests on this one outcome.
And where are we at right now? Where are we at right now? I'm sure you're on the same page as me, so I'll keep it short. We're at this position where people are maxing out their credit cards to afford the groceries that are unfucking affordable. Trump himself has mentioned this, but you don't need to rely on a politician to tell you this. Go to the grocery store. Look at your bank account. Look at your credit card statements. If you are telling me that you are just fine, you are fucking lying. And that's okay. I don't like liars personally, but none of us are okay. I'm not okay. I'm making the best money I've ever made. Granted, I've taken 3 pay cuts in the last few years because the economy is going to shit. But the cost of everything else, I just refinanced. You guys know I talk about my personal stuff on here too, to a degree. I don't talk about everything personal, but I'll talk about the car. Fuck it. I just refinanced the car and brought the payment down about $200. But I just redid my budget, which accounts for every shit I take. I swear to fucking God, it's that bad. Every penny I spend is accounted for in my budget. And you know what's funny? The $200 I just saved in the car payment between gas payments and insurance rates and everything else going up, just by a hair here and there going up, I am now $456 negative every month. That's a fact. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not ashamed to say it because I'm aware that I am one of you, one of us living in this country getting royally fucked. And how do I have to finance that? I have to wait for a hopeful bonus that'll come through to pay down the credit cards that I'm using to use for gas. It is the reality of the situation. Now, is that the smart thing to do? No. Do I have a fucking choice in the matter? Also, no, the wage doesn't match the cost. We have a fucking problem here. We have a real fucking problem, and we're at that moment right now where if things don't get fixed and unfucked real fucking quick, we're going to have an insolvency problem with our citizens of this country, period. You cannot sustain living on credit. You can't do it. It's not just me. It's everybody. Open a fucking newspaper. They don't make those anymore for the most part, but go on Google. You can see it everywhere. People are going into debt to pay for groceries. People have maxed out their credit cards as of last October to pay for groceries. Now, that was last October. What are people doing now? What are they not telling you? Taking out new lines of credit? Probably so. Adding more credit cards? Probably so. This is not sustainable. And we're at this point, like this video says, where we either have to fucking fix this or we're fucked. We're there. We can't do this. Dealerships, Stellantis, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, they are trying to sell $100,000 base model fucking trucks. They're doing away with their Dodge 1500, which is the base, for in favor of the 2500 at $100,000 entry. That used to be the cost of a fucking home in my lifetime. That they're trying to sell as a fucking a degenerate asset. What I mean is it loses value every mile it's driven. $100,000 for that in an economy where people are using credit cards for groceries. I know I said to keep it short, but I'm spun up because it's absolutely true. You cannot keep this going. You can't do it. Mando, whoever wants to jump in, Billy, Mando, go ahead.
Well, where do you think the end is going to go? Right? if we continue on this path, right, the end is going to be people needing to rely on the government to basically be their mom and dad for them, right? To give them food, to give them shelter. This is what they want. This is the end goal of this is the real Kamala Harris.
A brief interjection to your point, very brief, I promise. This is already being asked for. And by people you would think are reasonable enough to know better. Universal basic income. Even by people on the right are asking for this. What the fuck is wrong with you? Do you not know what that means? That is communism. That is absolute communism. Anyway, Billy, yeah, no, that's where it goes. That's where it goes if they succeed.
Yeah, I mean this is the end game of where we're heading if we continue on this path. Is you're going to see, you think the homeless problem is a problem now? Just you wait. And then they want to put everybody on state healthcare. That's one of her key goal agendas with her. They don't talk about it, but they want to get rid of private healthcare. They want everybody on the government healthcare. They want everybody to have their government. What you call it? You just mentioned the
universal basic
income, which is useless, right? Because what happens when you give people a bunch of money? The money becomes useless, right? That's when you need wheelbarrows to carry around your fucking money. Everybody will be a millionaire.
That's Weimar Republic, Germany.
Let's make everybody a millionaire.
They used the dollar in Germany pre-World War II was so useless. They used it by wheelbarrow for fuel for their fire to keep them warm. That's how useless their money was. That's where we're heading. Billy is absolutely on it. I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know if anybody in our audience is going to vote for that, God help you. If that's the way you want to live your life. I mean, I want smaller government. I want them, you know what I want? I want them to protect the border, which they don't fucking do. And I want them to make sure that the criminals are locked up, right? And to protect the country as a whole from invading forces. That's all you really need government for. You don't need them to, all these different programs to give people freebies. That wasn't a thing before the 1930s, right? People just had to fucking figure it out, right?
You know what you need them for above all else is to make sure, in our case, as a constitutional republic, if I have to say that ad nauseum, I will. Their job specifically, there goes the camera again. Their job specifically is just to make sure the constitutional amendments of this United States are enforced and protected. You know what they've done? The exact fucking opposite. Second Amendment, it says, I know I rant on this every chance I get, so I'll keep it short. It says right in there, shall not be infringed. You know what this fucking derailed piece of shit, fucking hypocritical government has done? Trampled on shall not be infringed as much as fucking possible. They have made every reason to strip your rights, from domestic violence to red flag laws to smoking some weed, whatever it is, they've stripped you of your right. Oh, prior convictions, everything about that. Everything I just listed is unconstitutional. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't give a fuck. It's not in the Constitution. It said shall not be infringed. Not what makes you comfortable shall be infringed. It said shall not be infringed. That was government's only job, to be limited, very limited, to just make sure that was protected, that contract was upheld. They have failed that duty. They are no longer legitimate. Bottom line, pick an amendment, pick any of them. If it's not being upheld, they're illegitimate. Bottom line. All right. Panel, before I jump back into the video, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I did have one.
Go ahead, jump in.
We have bifurcated into so many different sub parties and sub factions in this country. We no longer have the two of them. And I'm going to go ahead and just break it down super simple. We're no longer going with the anarchists versus the control freaks. It's You've literally got shades of gray in all of that right now. And the problem I'm seeing is that we've got what's essentially demagogues coming out for all of these little groups that are manipulating everyone into doing things that may or may not be in your best interest. And that's weakening this country as a whole. And it's going to cause the disintegration that we all know is coming.
Yeah. No, you're right. It looks like G-Ski YouTube for $5. I can put that on screen. See, I wish I could do that on Rumble. I don't know what happened. Anyway, G-Ski says for $5, your 150K per year manager who gets a 50K bonus by cheating you out of pay, facts, buys the 100K baseline truck. Also facts. Also facts. Yeah, it's fucked up. And then you're told that we can't make you full-time. We can't make you full-time. You can only work like 32, maybe if we're lucky, hours a week. And if 3, 4, 5 employees around you get fired, guess what? That's all now your responsibility for the same hours and the same pay. You're going to do all 4 or 5 jobs and pick up the slack, but you're not going to be paid for any of that. Oh, maybe we'll give you like a 10-cent raise if you're lucky and you behave and you do what you're told. It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. And anybody that can't see that is fucking lying to themselves. I've told people, I will tell you, I will tell anybody I come across, if you want to succeed in this country, in this job market, you quit your job every 3 years. Whether you quit, you get fired, whatever the fuck it is, you walk away from that business every 3 years. That is the only way. I know people now that have worked for companies for 20, 30, whatever the fuck period of time, and they've gotten maybe a modest $2, $3 raise in that period of time. And now, with the cost of living, quite frankly, I hate to say it, but they look like fucking ignorant fools because they're living in 30 years ago pay in 2024 because they held on to the job because of the belief of the 401k and the pension and everything's going to work out for them. Fuck no, it's not. You can't be loyal to anybody, any company, anything anymore. You have to jump ship every 3 years minimum. If you don't, you will fuck yourself long term. And even then, jumping ship every 3 years does not guarantee you wages to keep up with inflation well enough to secure retirement and all of the things you're going to need for your old age. There's no guarantee. Matter of fact, I will tell you at the rate we're going, all of you that are planning on retiring, get fucked. And that's not to say I said get fucked. It's just that's the economy telling you get fucked. Not going to happen. You work until you die. You've exchanged your life for $1. Again, why say this whole system is fucked? Your time is invaluable. And you've put a price tag on it every fucking day. And you've done it with all of your peers, your whole society, your civilization. And so all of you are wasting the one life you get, slaving away for $1 an hour. There was somebody that put it in context. I don't have the video, but not too long ago, that most of you, if you're making $20 to $21 an hour at the rate that it costs materials, the food, everything else that goes into a bag of potato chips, you are worth 2 potatoes an hour at $21 an hour right now to produce those potatoes and put them on the shelf in front of you. 2 potatoes an hour. That's what you're exchanging your life for, is 2 potatoes an hour. Why the fuck people aren't in the streets just going ham? I don't know. I may never know. I don't understand it, but I can tell you it's fucked. Let's finish up this video though.
Real quick, if I can jump in.
Go ahead.
With a counterpoint. So I know what you mean about the jumping ship every couple years. I worked with a guy years ago. That was his whole philosophy. 2 years. And he just jumped to the next one because every time he jumped, they would give him a pay increase, right?
Yeah.
But I think it matters the kind of work you go into. I'm in the STEM field, so I'm in engineering. So I've been with my company for, I'm just shy of 20 years, and, knock on wood, I do pretty good. I have a month and a half vacation time, all the benefits and everything. I don't really want to go into it, but
Right.
I do fine. Because I chose a field that I knew I would not only was a good field to get into, but I knew that I had room for growth, that if I applied myself and became invaluable to that company, because that's important too, right? Is to make yourself where they basically would say, oh shit, we would really harm ourselves if we got rid of him. Not, everybody's replaceable, but you got to make it where it would really hurt them if they got rid of you. So that's the way I've lived my life. And I think I've done pretty decent with it. And, I am going to eventually retire, not as early as I'd like. That was thanks to the X for that, but earlier than the normal, wage slave, because I've been packing it away,
Right.
So I think it matters what you get into is what the point I'm trying to get at, and to make yourself invaluable.
I would agree. I'm also going to add to that. As much as I just ranted about this, let me just reverse course completely and throw a 180 fucking bone at you. It is not time to quit your job. This would be a very stupid time to quit your job. So if you're like, hey, Rhino, you said 3 years, I've been at my job. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Now's not the time. We're in a sinking ship. You grab every fucking penny you can out of that company before it sinks. Okay? Don't quit right now. I don't care. The job sucks. I'm underpaid. I'm overworked. I'm stressed. I'm losing my fucking hair. Don't quit. Don't fucking quit. You're going to regret that. There are no jobs. 818,000 jobs just got deleted yesterday. And that's only if they're being honest, and they're not, because they're never honest. Now's not the time. Maybe when we start seeing a little upslope in that fucking roller coaster, jump ship, but not now. Not now. They say the same thing in stocks, right? Buy low and sell high. Now's not the time. We're doing this right now. Not the time. All right, let's get back into the video.
After the consolidation, the community unites in maximum collective energy and efficacy. Most people who haven't yet chosen sides must now choose. Leaders redirect every available institution toward a common goal. During the World War II crisis, our consolidation event was the Japanese attack on our naval fleet at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The United States declared war on Japan the next day. 3 days later, the United States declared war on Germany. All hands on deck and all in. At the time of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the American military consisted of less than 500,000 people. After Pearl Harbor, and for the next 3 years, the military grew by 500,000 people every 2 months. All hands on deck and all in. We have not yet experienced our consolidation. We have not yet experienced this crisis's Pearl Harbor moment. And to be clear, it's not guaranteed that we will experience a Pearl Harbor event. This book presents us with a historical theory, not math. The climax of a crisis determines whether the new order will or will not prevail against its enemies and obstacles. Will we win the war? The World War II crisis climax came in a trifecta of events, beginning with the Allied invasion of German-held Normandy, France, aka D-Day, on June 6, 1944. Then the Battle of the Philippine Sea 2 weeks later on June 19th and 20th, 1944.
In the Battle of the Philippine Sea in 1944, Naval Air scored its greatest triumph over Japanese carrier aircraft. now remembered as the Marianas Turkey Shoot, Navy gunners on ship and in the air, and in the space of one day, shot down 400 attacking enemy planes. Japanese naval air was ruined.
The U.S. Fifth Fleet defeated Japan's carrier-based Air Force.
And the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki ended the war with grave.
Mando, go ahead and jump in, man. Sorry about that. Are you still with us, Mando? All right.
I was going to mention what Tim Roble put into the chat a few seconds ago. We did not declare war on Germany. Germany declared war on us because we declared war on Japan. That's why they called it the Axis at that point in time, because they, just like we have our mutual defense pact with the NATO countries, they had a mutual defense pact amongst themselves. I get what he's trying to do, but he's getting so many of the historical facts inaccurate that a lot of the points he's trying to make are being undermined by, or for pretty much anyone that knows history.
Understood. I do see your point. I don't think it's nefarious at all, but I do see your point. If you're a historian, you're going to look at this and go, well, fuck, but is he wrong about facts? Maybe. About the overall picture, I would say probably not. I would say no, actually. Not probably not, just no. But I get your point. I think when we start, grasping at straws, I get what you're saying, but yeah, I'm going to let it slide based on the fact that overall his content is still nailing it home pretty good. Maybe he has a few spots where he could improve, but overall I think he gets the point pretty good. Here we go.
Certainty.
We have not yet experienced our crisis's D-Day, Battle of the Philippine Sea, or Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, nor is it inevitable that we will. During a crisis resolution, a clear victor emerges. Victors are rewarded and enemies punished. Nations or empires are forged or destroyed. Treaties are signed and boundaries redrawn. Peace is accepted, troops repatriated, and ordinary life begins anew. One large chapter of history ends and another starts. In a very real sense, one society dies and another is born. After the World War II crisis, the United States emerged as the world's preeminent power. We got the United Nations and the World Bank. There is no guarantee that the United States will emerge victorious from our current crisis, but I've got my money on her. After the World War II crisis resolution began the post-war high, our history blocks first turning. Rock and rollin' Corvettes. Lots of movie cameras, too. In America's first crisis, she fought for her independence against a global power and founded a new nation. In America's second crisis, she fought to keep the nation together and in doing so, freed her slaves. In America's third crisis, she saved her citizens from impoverishment.
Okay. All right. I know I just kind of scolded Mando for picking at straws there, but no. The Civil War actually was about ending state sovereignty and making us all slaves. I digress. I'm not going to get into that too much tonight. That's another show.
Helped free Western Europe and secured a system of global trade with her allies, becoming the most powerful superpower in human history. And in America's fourth turning.
Oh, look at that.
She's
look at
here.
That. 2008. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I said 2008 to 2032 early in this episode without seeing that ending there. I bet I'm gonna place it on 2032. He said 2033 in his little written thing there. 2032. Just based on how things are going, I think we're about 80 something, maybe 79 days from hitting the fourth turning. There, I put a number on it. We are election day away from hitting the fourth turning head on. We're there, but where it goes to crisis mode there, we're a vote away. Because no matter how that turns out, good or bad, depending on your perspective, that's going to be where shit pops off. Because let's say those of you watching that are mid to right centric, it might seem good for you if the right people get in power, but those people that don't want to lose it. They've been willing to do a lot of fucked up shit to keep it. Keep that in mind. Outlaw, I can hear you. Jump on in.
Well, I was just going to say, how many times have we said it don't matter who you vote for in this election? Both sides are corrupt. This country's not getting fixed no matter who goes in November.
Yeah.
Right? How many times have we said that? You know, even if Trump miraculously gets elected, he's not going to fix this. There's too much damage, too many moving parts and pieces happening right now. It's not going to happen.
Well, maybe not, but I do still have hope, especially with the RFK thing. Maybe I'm just drinking some good Kool-Aid here, but I do have hope that they will take more seriously the draining of the swamp they didn't do the first round. There's been a lot of things that have happened in the last 4 years that would make me believe maybe they can't fix everything, but they're sure as hell going to give it a college try to get some shit done this time. We've got like a few seconds left in this video. Let's wrap it up. I've got a couple others to show you, and then we're done for the night. They're not even full videos. They're just going to be clips of pieces of videos I think are relevant. But let's wrap this one up, and then we're good to go to the next 3, and we're done. I guess that's it. Just him showing the whole map there again, if you want to look at it. So there it is. If you want to see it for a few seconds, jot it down, screenshot it, whatever you want to do. Actually, this is probably a good episode where you screenshot this. So screenshot that, and we can see how it lines up in a few years here. So there you go. I think, panel, what are your thoughts? Let's do that before we jump in the next one. Anybody? John, you're in the show.
I think
ahead,
he's
man.
I think he's got some good ideas, but where he's getting his facts wrong are undermining his overall thought process.
All right. Well, we've talked about that before, so I would agree. Yeah, he's got some facts wrong, but overall, I don't think it destroys his credibility.
And that's all I was trying to get at. I'm not saying that for me his credibility is completely gone. It just makes me more inclined to go and do some digging into how he got his conclusions.
Sure. All right. Anybody else before we move into the next one?
So do you think he had said like in the Regeneracy 2 about the Battle of Britain, do you think maybe the Trump attempt was our second? That was, if we're like on the cusp of the big thing, the big kickoff, do you think that would be it?
Well, I mean, if we're talking American history specifically, and American politics, actually, you know what? I'm just going to go on a limb here. Yeah. Because I know this country and what happens in this country does affect the global economy and the state of affairs all around the world, period. We can argue about it as much as we want, but if our ship sinks, everybody else is going down with us. No, yeah, absolutely. And you saw that today with RFK and the independents joining up with Trump. That's going to be a huge deal where people come together on that. So yeah, I do think that's absolutely part of it. Yeah, I would agree. I would say that is our second regeneracy there, based on the fact that shift right there. from the assassination attempt to bringing people together to then the independents saying, you know what, I may not agree with everything the guy says. I would say 90% of it I do. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and vote for him and back him and partner with him. You should too. Yeah, I would say that that's where we're at right now. Billy, your thoughts on that then?
Yeah, I mean, that could be where we're at. I mean, I don't know what to say besides what I've already said on all this. So if you want a good next video to play, I saw, well, what do you have up for us next? Because I saw one you might not be putting up. I thought was really interesting.
Throw it in the chat. We're going to actually, we're going to put up. Oh, it's a fun one. We could probably use a break from the seriousness. So
well, no, it's not a fun one, but it's an interesting one because of what's being said and who's saying it. You'd be like, huh, can't believe he's saying that. And it's from the DNC.
Okay. Yeah, we'll throw it in there. Just throw it in the private chat. Hang on. There we go.
Big Labor Day deal? This is about how you sit. You sit really deep in the cockpit.
Where am I hearing? Okay. I'm hearing some background noise. There we go. There was a video playing in the background. Sorry, guys. Lots of stuff going on tonight. I'm just trying to get the hang of it here. Feels like this is my first episode. You know, you get rusty. You do. You can still ride the bike once you learn, but you might fall a few times after it's been a bit of time. I'm still doing videos. Just
Rhino.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you need to go to Urban Dictionary and have a rusty trombone done on you?
No, we're not doing that. All right. Moving back along into the videos here. Let's get this over with. We've got this one here. This is going to be the author of the book. One of the authors. There's two, but this is going to be one of the authors. We're going to just watch this one briefly. And then there's two other videos in Billy's, and we'll call it a night. Here we go.
We live in a tumultuous time in American history. People sometimes ask me, what decade in American history most resembles the decade we've just been living through? And I tell them there's no question. It's the 1930s. That's right. I said the
chameleon.
I mean,
Yoink. This is a little male-veiled chameleon, and he'll make a fantastic pet.
Lived out in the shadow of a great financial crisis, right? The global financial crisis, 1929, both were characterized by slow and disappointing economic growth. Both saw the underemployment of labor and capital, the emergence of surprising new trends like fears of deflation, which of course we hadn't seen before the last decade since the 1930s. Both saw new threats such as competitive devaluation, what in the 1930s we called beggar thy neighbor policies, threatened to disrupt, as we've already seen disrupted in the last decade, the rising trend in global trade. Both saw the rising gap between the rich and poor, the marginalization of working class Americans, fears about future living standards. Geopolitically, we see strong parallels as well. Think of the rise of nationalism globally in general, and think more specifically of the rise of right-wing populism. Again, we haven't seen that since the 30s. We've seen it recently. Think of the rise around the world of authoritarian regimes who seem to be enjoying rising popular appeal as they exert their will in their own regions without the interference of any larger concert of nations. The 1930s played out in the dissolution of the League of Nations, and today we see ourselves where the UN and the United States no longer seem to play as active a role in global affairs. This is an era that the geopolitical advisor and strategist Ian Bremmer calls a G0 world. It's every nation for itself. Social trends as well, we see parallels. The rise in multi-generational family living, the decline in home ownership, the decline in fertility rates around the world. We certainly see that in America. Changes in in attitudes of the voters toward their leaders. We want leaders who suddenly can exert authority. We want leaders to take charge. We no longer want processes and abstractions and market mechanisms. We want people who guarantee results. We've seen that in Europe in the elections there. We've obviously seen it here. Think more recently of the election of Donald Trump in 2016, who in his inauguration speech talked about American carnage, rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. When in history have we seen such a polarizing, iconoclastic leader take charge of this country? And this all, I think, reflects the kind of uncertainty that we're looking at today. Well, this is all part of a pattern. And it's a pattern that's gone back centuries in Anglo-American history. I think it frankly characterizes the history of many countries around the world today. And that is a pattern of huge political and civic upheavals happening at the intervals of about the length of a long human lifetime, about every 80 or 90 years or so. And when we saw that, we've seen that in American, sort of Anglo-American history going back to the Glorious Revolution in the late 17th century, the American Revolution in the late 18th century, the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, and here we are today.
So there you go on that one.
Like nature's four seasons.
I'm going to call that a wrap on that. This is the same gentleman in this next video. We're only going to listen to a brief snippet of it. I've already fast forwarded to it. Let's jump into this one now. Here we go. And this is regarding Trump's assassination attempt. I know I can't say that on air. Fuck you, YouTube. Here we go.
For folks who are just watching and listening for the first time, we will get into the fourth turning and the four turnings in this episode. And the fourth turning is the crisis period, that period of upheaval. I think what scares me, Neil, and I thought about this morning, if it were a different outcome, what that would be like, what the country would be like, what we would be waking up to this morning. And it even scares me to even think about that. But I got to put that question to you as well. And I don't know if you would even know, but it is a really terrifying thought.
Well, think about those other eventualities I talked about. I mean, think of all these other attempted assassinations if they had succeeded and what the reaction would have been, right? I guess you could say the likelihood, perhaps we should be philosophical about it, is that sooner or later an attempt like that will succeed, right? Because there are many of them now. And how would we react to that? It would heighten the odds on both sides, certainly, right? It would lead us to a greater sense of an either or in politics. It would kind of push the fourth turning mood, one notch up. And I think it fourth turnings, I think, are eras that remind us of the contingency in history. There are eras in history where if a big accident happens, everything just still can find its way back to normal. And in fact, when you think about those assassinations in the 1960s, John Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., in a way, society did get back on track, right? I think things are different in a fourth turning when so many people are looking for a sudden rupture in political life and in public life, and for the nation to take a suddenly new direction. And I think that actually wasn't really in the cards back in the 60s and 70s, when, despite the fact there was a huge amount of protest by younger generations, still civic institutional life in America was pretty strong. People still did trust government. That no longer is true, and particularly for younger people. And I think a lot is going to be looked at a lot of lonely and disconnected young people who feel they aren't, connected to anything. They have no trust in the system right today.
Now, this goes back to everything we talk about on the show. He didn't mention it specifically, but I can allude to it. We talk about men in my generation and younger, and even some of the older guys in the Gen X generation. They see the dating market, they see how terrible it is. But why? Because of the rapid growth of feminism and radicalism of that movement. We also have the marriage laws, the divorce courts, the alimony, the child support, all of that. We've talked about it. Men don't have a purpose, a reason, a will to be here. Then you look at the job market and the money. What incentive? I talk to guys Jackal's age now quite frequently, and they all tell me the same thing. There's no fucking point. What's the fucking point? At least when I was their age, I'm like, yeah, there was a delusion, but there was still the white picket fence and, you know, the wife and the kids and the dog and the happily ever after and maybe a cat if you're fucking that masochistic, but whatever. I'm a dog person. There was still the illusion of it. And most of us found out the hard way that's a lie. And then we told the younger guys, oh, by the way, that's a fucking lie. And then the women that they have to choose from are all on OnlyFans. So it's really a lie. So there's no reason to have a family. So there's no reason to work hard. And then even if they still had a reason to work hard for themselves, they can't even afford to leave their parents' home. It's not even a joke anymore where they're just losers living in their parents' basement. They literally can't afford to leave the basement even if they wanted to, because no one's paying them enough to even afford basic, and I mean shitty basic, housing and food, right? The ramen and fucking studio apartment days are gone for a lot of these guys. And they're like, what the fuck? When you have as a society of men that has no reason to live, you create very bad times. And we're there. Right now, they're just depressed on this hangover of where's the American dream? I'm fucked and I've got no purpose. They're just going through the hangover right now. I'm watching it real time. You can watch it too around you. They're going through the hangover. What happens when they sober up completely? What happens when they go, yeah, this is fucked. We were lied to. Mm-hmm. They get a little bit older. Their cerebral cortex finally, fully develops and they go, yeah, fuck you. What happens then? Sean, it sounds like you wanted to jump in there. Feel free to do so.
I was just kind of chuckling there at something you said. But I think, was that Hal or Strauss? I think it was Hal, right?
That's Hal. Yep.
Yeah. Something I think he does definitely make a very good point about is the lack of purpose amongst young people, and especially young men, because they're the drivers of industry, labor, and just getting things done overall. But if they have no purpose, they have no drive, then if that's the attitude and mindset, and if it is, let's say, mutual amongst the majority of the population, yeah, you're probably going to start seeing a lot of problems happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of young people want to have a purpose and drive, and when there's a lack of it, I mean, for me, it was 9/11. Mm-hmm. That kind of solidified my path going forward with my career in the Army. Oh, what do you want, Roxy?
We'll cut in really quick while we deal with that. I want to make a point. I don't want you guys to do what the boomers have done to the millennials. That needs to stop. Aaron Clary, God help him. I get why he's so fucking critical of everything. He's the asshole consultant, whatever, but he's wrong. All right. A lot of millennials that I know are extremely intelligent, but I will tell you one thing. Before we start doing the same thing to Gen Z and saying how fucking retarded they are and how lazy and useless they are, not a fucking one of them that I've met yet. Are there plenty of them? Sure. But is that who they are? Just like I'm a millennial. Am I fucking eating avocado toast and going to Starbucks every day and am a liberal? Fuck no, I'm not. Let's not make the mistake of doing this to Gen Z. Most of them are extremely intelligent. Most of them, without me even telling them, most of them I've talked to don't even watch red pill content and know all the red pill content. Does that make sense? They already know. They're already wise to it. They see they're getting fucked. They see the system is lying to them. They see that women are fucked. They see that marriage is a lie. They see that there's no hope. They see it. They're very smart. They're very fucking smart. That whole Gen Z's just fucking lazy that have to get a job to be fired shit. No, they see the fucking lie and they don't want to be a part of it because they've seen my generation, your generation, and the older generations get fucked. So why would they want to participate? They already know it's fucked. They're not stupid. That's the myth. And I want you guys to critically think on that. The myth of the Gen Z being a lazy, self-absorbed crybaby twat is not true. They walked into the world day one being told, fuck you, you're fucked, your life doesn't matter, you'll never achieve anything remotely close to the American dream, which is a dream for a reason. You're just fucked. You're just fucked. And they look at you and go, then why should I fucking try? They're not wrong for that. They're smart for that because it's true. Why the fuck try when they don't have a pension, a 401k, Social Security, any kind of retirement, when they're working where they can barely afford to even eat? They're paying these same Gen Z kids. A lot of them that I've talked to are paying for their parents' groceries, not the other way around. You tell me what the fuck's wrong with that. Because you're being told Gen Z's just fucking useless, lazy. Yeah, no, they're paying for their parents' bills. They're paying for their parents' mortgage, their parents' groceries. Well, that's the truth. That's what I'm seeing. I just don't want you guys to get it twisted and think that they're just a bunch of fucking losers that don't give a shit. No, they just have no reason to give a shit because they know they're fucked. So they don't have any incentive to get up and fucking put on the fucking mask and do the daily grind until they're dead, because basically they're being told now, you're already dead. You're just waiting for the death certificate. You know, I wouldn't be too thrilled either. Let's see. Jimmy Bones just met up with Vincent at the truck parking spot. I'm going to jump off and go have a beer with him. Have a good night, gents. Absolutely, sir. Successful endeavors. Yes. Go on, Rhino. No, that's my rant. I think I got it out. And then we've got 9/11 was the beginning of my path to red pill knowledge. Same, actually. Same. That's where me and my friends would watch Alex Jones documentaries and follow around the Freemasons in town and see some sketchy shit. That's where I fucking found out. But there you go. Let's go into this next clip really quick. Same person again. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'll just put it on screen here. And then we'll have Billy's video and then we're done. I know it's been an erratic night. This is an erratic topic. There's no really placing what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, who's going to be involved, how bad it's going to get. We don't know. We don't have a lot of answers to those. All I know is we're in it. We're in it. It's going to be interesting. There's no getting around it. We're going to go through it. You can't go around it. You will have to go through it. All of us are going to be doing that together, though. So keep that in mind. At least you're not alone going through this shit show. All right, let's put this on screen.
Did you see the movie Civil War?
I haven't seen it. I did. I've seen most of the clips from it. I'm terrible. I don't like to go to movies.
You're not gonna like it. Did you watch Leave the World Behind, the movie that Obama did?
Yeah, I saw that.
What'd you think about that one?
I just thought it was loopy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the problem with Civil War and the problem with Leave the World Behind is that they don't show that there's any particular community behind it, right? It's just random crap happening, right? The guy who produced Civil War basically said he was sort of like a modern day Hemingway. It's just reporting on violence and facts and names and numbers, and nothing means anything. Here's the problem. When you're in the middle of that Civil War, everything is going to mean a lot. That's why you're fighting it, right? This is what they don't portray. And it's not just like a colossal auto accident. No one saw World War II like a huge auto accident, right? It was a cause. It was whether the free world was going to survive or not. Everyone knew what it meant. The problem with these new movies is they just show it like a anonymous disaster. That's not how it's going to look to people.
Let me go back to my question.
Right. Now, really quickly jumping in here, this is why I say we're about to hit it, this election, because whatever side you're on, the outcome of this election means a lot to most of us. I would just say rational individuals. I know it's unfair to live in an echo chamber and say that they're all just delusional, and they are for a reason. They want to keep their diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want to keep their handouts, their welfare, their food stamps, their WIC. They want to keep the systems that the government is keeping them alive. They will fight, as you can tell, they will fight violently to protect remaining on the government's teat. They've done it forever. On our side, we realize if we lose this constitutional republic. So one side is fighting like hell for socialism. The other side is fighting like hell for freedom, and both hate each other for it. Bottom line. Yeah, this has no other conclusion than the two sides fighting. There are other videos where he talks about how this country could become a civil war environment again. It won't be like it was last time. Obviously, things have changed. The point of a civil war has changed quite a bit. But like he says, there are very important reasons. It's not like the fucking movies where this happened and this happened and this happened and now we're mad and we're fighting, boom, done. No. As far as I'm concerned, and most of you watching the show, you're still tuned in, so most of you probably agree with me, I would hope. I want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness the best I fucking can, as long as I have a life to live. The pursuit being wisdom, and when they wrote it, that it's never just going to be happy. You have to pursue it throughout your life. But I would like the chance to do so. I'd like to know that my constitutional republic still stands. I'd like to know that the amendments written in the Constitution still have meaning. And I know if this election doesn't go the way that we want it to, it's over. And I know some of you are already blackpilled and say, well, the government's fucked either way. You're right. It has been forever. And we finally have a glimmer of fucking hope that some people that actually believe in this country might be able to get in power and stop the shit that makes us black-pilled. But if we lose, we're fucked. But that's what the left's saying right now. If we lose, we're fucked. We lose socialism, communism. We lose it all. We lose everything we're fighting for. We lose some sick shit, but we lose it. And that's what they want. They want the sick shit. That to them is freedom. That to them is wonderful. It's wrong. But it is what it is. That's what they're afraid of losing. If they lose the election, they lose all that because we're done. We're done. But that's the galvanization of the country. That's where we're so far apart. They want communism. We want fucking freedom. Either way, this doesn't end well. Either way, just something to chew on.
A civil war and that kind of pain and fear, that event needs to happen for us to get in line with the right values and principles. If that's a level 10, okay? If that's a level 10, where are we at right now?
Look, we used to be at 2 or 3. I think we're now at 6, and we're rising.
And so 6. And do you think, according to your, studies of the fourth turning, it has to get to a 9 or a 10?
It has to. And the social the social dynamic inevitably leads there in order for the thing to be resolved. In other words, it keeps moving in that direction. And it's accidental within the fourth turning. Civil War. Barbara Welter, did this recent book. She toured the world reporting on civil wars all over the world today, from Biafra to Burma and, everywhere. She said the one universal thing that she had from everyone she interviewed is she says, they all say the same thing. We never saw it coming. We thought Henry Adams who did his autobiography late in life around 1900, 1903. But he talked about this as a young diplomat
What's different here is we see it coming. Maybe the other side doesn't. I don't fucking know. The problem we all have, maybe I'm guilty of it too, to some degree. I'd like to think I'm fucking aware, but I think we're all guilty of, at some point in the day while you're sipping your coffee or enjoying your steak or, enjoying the comfort of your own home, it can't happen here. It's not going to happen here. It won't happen here. This is just going to fucking be another bumpy ride and it'll be over. I can't say I've always been like, this is fucked. There's a part of me that wants to say, it's going to be all right. It can't happen here. But it will. It will. It has. It will. And it will again. It always happens here. And it especially happens here where people say it can't. I'm just being honest. There's parts of me that want to believe, it's going to be okay. But it's not. It will be. After some fucked up shit goes down, it will happen here. Panel, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think most people think, and he kind of alluded to it as far as he was talking about how the movies portray it and whatnot. It's almost like glossed over, like it won't be a big deal. It's almost like these people, they want it to happen and they don't realize how bad it's going to be. And it's almost like they want to cosplay it, kind of like they're cosplaying the whole 60s civil rights movement right now. Like we solved civil rights issues and they're bringing it back out to cosplay it, right? LARPing, they want to LARP a civil war. They don't really know what it's going to be like. Because they haven't, unless you've been through a hurricane and seen your house blow away, you don't think that anything's going to move that house, right? That house is going to be solid. Nothing's going to blow it away until it gets blown away, and then you're shocked that it's blown away.
I would add to that. Actually, I think you're right. You say cosplay. I would change the word to romanticize, because I've seen a lot of that where just let it burn. Or I welcome it. Are you sure about that? Not to quote that show, fucking hilarious show, by the way. But are you sure about that? Is that what you want? Are you sure about that? Because you might think it's all fucking gonna be great. Just let it burn, and I'll have a harem of women. It's not how it's gonna be. It's gonna be bad. It's not gonna be what you want. But go ahead, keep wishing for it.
Yeah, there's going to be cannibalism and. Unless you're teamed up with a good group, if you're riding solo, lone wolf in it, you're dead. You're dead. I don't care how many guns and fucking how much ammunition you got stored to the rafters. And don't forget about food. You think you got enough food? Well, how about, do you have enough food for you and the people who live around you? Because they're going to come knocking at your door. And quite possibly the authorities are going to come knocking at your door too, to see what kind of food you have. So you better have, food for them, food for you hidden away, food for your neighbors that are going to come either, be nice about it or break in and try to fucking take it from you. I'm just saying, like, all the shit that's going to happen is like, people just don't realize like how bad it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I really don't want that to happen, because I just let me go off in the first wave, and because I don't know if I'd want to live through how bad it could potentially get.
Well, that's where I got to jump into Shinobi's comment. Actually, I will read that on air here. If it doesn't burn down, will the system ever change? Shinobi, the whole point of this video is has to. It has to. It will. It's going to. It's unavoidable. I don't know how many other ways I can word this. It's going to burn down. It will. How it does, I can't tell you. How bad it's going to be, I can't tell you. I wouldn't pray for it. I wouldn't wish for it. We are going to see it happen in our lifetimes. It will happen, period. But to remove the black pill from as many of you as I can, it does get better after we go through it. You're going to have to go through it. Bottom line, I hate to tell you, every one of us here, some of us might not survive it, but everybody here that's listening, like it or not, you're going to go through it.
Can I point something out right now?
Go ahead.
First of all, am I able to be heard clearly at this point?
Yeah, you're clear.
Awesome. I'm looking at this situation from a historical perspective and from a bunch of other perspectives. Right now, we are in the cultural equivalent of a nuclear reactor getting powered up. The electrons and protons are moving around, bouncing around, doing their collisions, and building to the critical mass. Every nuclear reactor, when it kicks on, goes through this process where for just a few seconds, it looks like it's going to go into meltdown. And then it peters out, goes into normal, and gets into a nice equilibrium state until such time as something goes wrong mechanically with the system. Like you said, we have to go through the bad stuff to get to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I'm a sci-fi nerd. In Star Trek, what was one of the key things that led to the Federation being formed in the first place?
For those of us that don't know, just go ahead and fill us in.
On Earth, it was World War III. Among the planets that eventually became the foundation of the Federation, it was an apocalyptic war between Earth and Romulus. In Star Wars, granted this is a bad example because it led to tyranny, but you had the Republic that went through a horrible conflict that led to the Empire, which led to the Civil War, or led to the Galactic Civil War, which eventually led to, depending on if you want to treat the Disney stuff as a separate timeline, a better version of the Republic for a short time. There is plenty of things that historically and fictionally you can look at where things go bad, and then after a while, things get to a better point. Am I black-pilled about this? Yeah, to an extent. But as a Christian, I know it has to happen.
All right, let's we got to finish this up in the concern of time at this point now, but let me just point this out really quick before anybody, we have to wrap this up. We have to wrap this up. Think about the worst time you went through where life was fucked and there's no point in living. Everybody's been through it. Everybody. I don't know too many people who haven't. Maybe there's a few. But for the most part, everybody's been through a situation where they're like, fuck life. I shouldn't even get up tomorrow. I should just yeet myself, right? Everybody's been there. And then you're here now, and maybe it's bad, but it's not as bad as it was then, right? And you got through it. That's all this is, man. If you want to just see the silver lining, your worst moment in life that you got through and you had some good shit happen after, that's all this is. Maybe you went through hell, got a divorce, and everything went to shit, but you know, you got to do some cool shit afterwards. There you go. That's what this is. All right. It's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be fucked. And you're going to go, maybe I should yeet myself. Sure. But it's just like any other time in your life. You've done that and you got through it. Never take the fucking black pill, guys. I'm never going to change this channel to Black Pill Rhino because that's fucking retarded and gay. And I'm not doing it. Okay. Have hope. It's just like the worst shit you went through that you got through. The people that don't get through it, they take the fucking, JFK haircut too seriously, and they're not here. All right? We've seen that happen, unfortunately, too often. Don't be like that. Don't go black pill on me. Just fucking know it's the worst thing you went through that you got through. We're going to get through it. Is it going to suck? Yeah, probably. Really bad. Yeah. It's going to be shit. But please don't fucking go black pill because life is ebbs and flows. I know that sounds fucking hippie and preachy, but it's all going to come back around, all right? Hopefully we get to see it and enjoy it. Maybe on the way out, we get some good shit, right? Our generation, we'll maybe get to see the shore calm down a little bit. We'll get to enjoy the beach at the very end, right? That's my hope. I know we're going to have a hurricane coming, and a lot of us are not going to make it out the other side. Maybe myself included. I don't fucking know. But those of us that do, maybe we can walk barefoot on the shore in the golden years, right? I'm hoping, but that's just me being optimistic. I'm not going black pill. Never will. Can't do it. I've had black pill days, but I'm not taking it on as a philosophy because, as I said, that's lame and gay and retarded. And I said that on YouTube because fuck you, YouTube. All right, let's get through this fucking video. God damn it. And then we got to do Billy's video really quick. Oh, Sean, jump in quickly.
Yes, I'll be brief. So Billy mentioned about what a second civil war would look like, and the best comparison I can compare it to is look at what happened to Baghdad in Iraq before and after the invasion. We all know the pictures of how good it looked, and not everybody's familiar with how bad it got. But that is the most recent IRL metaphor that I can think about. Imagine whatever you see as far as media or videos about what Baghdad looked like during our occupation. Imagine that right outside your front door. And then he also brought up the point about, do you have food? And my follow-up to that is, do you know what kind of food you need? Because you should not be subsisting off of Skittles, Licky Chewies, and grocery store poison in an apocalypse. So learn how to cook. It teaches you a lot about nutrition on top of what good foods are, what bad foods are, and how to keep them edible.
There you go. All right. And does nobody fucking use a camera anymore? What the fuck, guys? Anyway, let's finish up this video. I'm just giving you shit just because I can.
Right now, I got my camera driver error going on, so.
All right. It's fine. But Sean, there's no excuses, goddammit. Anyway, let's get back to this.
He's a young diplomat in Washington, D.C. He was in his 20s in 1860, 1861. And he said, no one saw the Civil War coming. No one believed it. No one thought it was going to happen. The South was always claiming there was secede. You know what? By then it was just like, every 10 years you make a big threat like that. We just ignored you by now. And then suddenly it happened, right? But I think when you look at history more broadly, you can see the general social dynamics that lead us to this moment. We're in one. The question for me is external versus internal. Will it be one? Will it be the other? Will it be both? And that actually is a dynamic which I kind of speculate on throughout the book, because I think it's an interesting one in how it's going to work out. And we look at both of them today, right? You look at the world today. My God, you look at external conflict. The entire world is growing tribal, right? We have kind of an anti-democratic faction, which is all aligning. We have the so-called democratic world, which is trying to align. But we see danger points around the world everywhere. And this is where we're heading. In that original book, to come back to those predictions, you remember you took from that book, we had a series of bullet points. I think I'm just on 2 pages. This is, again, 1997. We're looking in the future. We predicted 5 things. I think you mentioned a couple of them. Mm-hmm. We predicted, a global financial crash. We predicted pandemic with imposition of martial law. Mm-hmm. We predicted Russia would invade a neighboring former Soviet republic. Wow. We also predicted a Tea Party freeze on the national debt. We actually used the word Tea Party. This was long, but that was just a lucky guess. So we said Tea Party freeze on the national debt.
That's 4. What's the
That's
fifth?
4. So those are all up cards. Those have been flipped. Those cards in it, those are all flipped. The other one's still a down card. That's several states start nullifying federal laws leading to secession, right? That's the down card. We haven't had that yet.
In these uncertain times, if there's anything we need, is we need people to believe the future looks bright. So if you've heard about me saying this mission to you,
Yeah. All right. He was just
Down
going
card started to
to
happen.
advertise. So, what's that?
That down card has actually started to happen with the whole immigration fiasco.
Yeah, it's starting to happen. When they start overthrowing, I'll tell you where I see it. Where they start nullifying. Okay, here's the down card. When they say fuck the ATF, then you'll see the down card. When that's officially a thing, that's when the down card is flipped. Okay. Until then, hang tight. But that's my speculation. There are already talks of it, but when it happens, when alcohol, tobacco, and firearms just gets a big fuck you from state governments, and you're starting to see it with constitutional carry, which this shouldn't be a fucking thing. I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. Constitutional carry was the Second Amendment, but they had to fucking say constitutional carry to eradicate gun laws. When you see that being bigger and more widespread, like Pop would say, like 30 is a good number, I believe is what he says. When you see that, like 30 of the states ish,
36, 38.
36, 38. Yeah. That's when things are going to get really interesting real fast. Billy, fill us in what we're about to see here so we have some context. What are we about to watch here? Just a brief overview.
It is, if you remember, Chris Cuomo, lefty, with his lefty brother running New York. He's at the DNC, and he's talking about the power structure. I thought it was interesting coming from a guy like him.
Okay, let's check it out. Here we go. Present. Here we are. Okay, on screen now.
DNC. A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts?
Weird flex, bro.
I think 500
Look at all these
excessive, but yeah.
Look at all
5K
these
to rent it
fucking.
for
Listen,
a while.
listen. It's just. We're gonna fight against the fucking problem that's here tonight, right in the room. We're gonna. Weird
He
flex,
was
bro.
one of the instruments of the problem.
Yeah,
right?
Hang on, gentlemen. Stop and think about this for a second. Chris Cuomo, like you said, used to be an instrument of the problem. And he just called it out, but he didn't call it out on a mainstream news organization. Did he call it out on CNN? No. Did he call it out on MSNBC? No. Did he call it out on Fox? No. He called it out on and I hate to say this because I love News Nation, on a rinky-dink internet blog site that has gotten big enough to be considered a news organization. He is attempting to get a little bit of moral vengeance for what got done to him.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if that's still somebody we should take
No.
seriously.
I can't. Well,
Because
no.
once you know that somebody will compromise their values for gain, you should never, ever, ever trust them again.
I just want to point this out, and I think it's interesting. What you just saw, it was a, as they would say, microaggression. He basically said, "Fuck my own party." Do you remember we've talked about this in past videos? Fuck me, I can't remember which ones, but we've talked about it, where your enemy will eventually eat their own. You're going to see a lot more of this coming up.
Well,
anybody else want to jump in? Oh, Billy.
And they've been going after, there's a bunch of reporters going after Kamala and Biden and all this stuff recently. So, yeah, like what you're saying, they're all eating themselves.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll finish up this video here really quick. Go ahead, Mando.
I did drop something in the private chat. That is for after the stream.
All right, understood. Okay, we'll do that after the show. There will be an after party, by the way. However brief, I don't know. I definitely can't stick around too long, but we'll do a. I need to learn to push buttons better. God, I'm rusty. Anyway, we will do a brief after party. I will put up the link at the end of the show in the end credits. So stick around if you want to join afterwards. Also, it looks like Jackal is now playing a game. I can see him on Steam just logging in there. Fuck you, Jackal. Anyway, let's finish off this video here. All right. Here we go.
Of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes. Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor. A lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows of.
I can't, hold on. I'm going to need a bit of a wide berth here. I can't hate the guy for this. I may not like the guy. I may not agree with the guy on anything else he fucking says. But the fact that he is exposing what we all should fucking already know out in the open like that in front of his own party at the DNC. That's not to say I agree with him. That's to say he ain't wrong. He ain't fucking wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of got a vibe that he's distributing the black pill. Am I the only one who got that?
I don't see the black. No, I don't. Again, I don't see the black pill here. What I see is he's starting to see this whole thing is a fucking scam and you're getting fucked and I want you to know it. Now, maybe he has his reasons or whatever, but I'm seeing a red pill there, not a black pill. I'm seeing him going, oh yeah, these fucking people that say they're going to change your lives, no the fuck they're not, and you need to know about it.
I'm honestly not seeing any pill there with him.
No,
what I'm seeing is a little boy who lost or who was not picked for the baseball team, who's saying, I'm taking my ball and my glove and I'm going home.
Yeah, but anybody that is a fucking sheep that has been watching religiously the DNC, they're going to get a light bulb there for a moment. Now, he said it's the same Republicans, Democrats. Yeah, sure, that might be true, but there's a lot of people that just, worship the ground that politicians walk on, and that's a whole different angle for them to just see that is a red pill, perhaps for a few. He may not be red pill, but he just red pilled a few people with his statements regardless.
Hopefully.
Most certainly.
I'll take that as a dub.
Yeah. All right. I think it's about time to wrap this fucking shit up because, good God, we have gone over the time that I wanted to, which is fine. We got a lot out. We got to discuss a lot, so it's good. But let's do final thoughts from the panel. We're going to go in order here, starting with Mando. Go ahead and give your thoughts, sir.
I think I've pretty much said everything I really wanted to out of this earlier. If you're going to get depressed over this, unplug, go do something else for a little bit. Trust me, the shitstorm's still going to be here when you choose to come back.
Yeah.
Just take a break, walk around, read a book that has nothing to do with politics, and just worry about something else for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. All right, we're going to move on to the next final thoughts then. Billy Von Bomb.
Yeah, so what's that saying? Plan for the worst, hope for the best. So, yeah, that's how I think people should live their lives in the times that we're in. Plan for things that might potentially go bad, but don't, it might not happen. So don't put your life on hold, hoping or thinking that bad things are going to happen. So live your life and be prepared. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, fair enough. I'd agree with that. Let's go ahead and jump into the next one here. MGTOW Outlaw, are you still with us? Can you hear us, sir?
Literal crickets.
The crickets can.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on from there then. That's unfortunate, but it's okay. Sean St. George, your final thoughts.
So a little bit what Hal was saying earlier is like, oh, we never saw it coming. We never saw it coming. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who saw it coming, not the people who just report on things and get suddenly shocked when things go bad. I would say we can see the writing on the wall, so we see it coming. Let's just prepare accordingly, because we'd rather not be caught off guard. We'd rather be as ready as we possibly can for any bad event, whether it's the local disasters that your area is prone to, that you deal with on a yearly or semi-annual basis, up to shit hitting the fan.
All right. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to put these guys backstage for a minute. I'm going to finish up, and we will see them on the other side. I keep pressing the wrong buttons here. There we go. All right, everybody is now backstage. The link is right there. You can see it. I've also posted it in MGTOW and Rumble for those of you following over there. You're more than welcome to join, of course. Yeah, I'll give my thoughts. I know this episode's been messy, by the way. Forgive me for that. New equipment. It's this time of year where all the fucking flies in the world come out, so that's been distracting me as well. I actually haven't done consistent shows in a while, so that does make me a little rusty. So I get it. It's kind of been a clusterfuck. Hopefully you guys still enjoyed it. See this fucking camera? Anyway, hopefully you still guys enjoyed it, took something from it. On that note, here are my thoughts. It's again, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's not if, it's when. We're going to go through it. We're going to go through it. It's going to happen. Something is going to happen. Whether that's your own personal experience, I've been through many. Whether it's, you've been through many too. I'm only using examples that I can think of off the top of my head. Your car gets totaled, your wife leaves you, your dog dies. We're going to go through it. It's going to happen. Shit's going to happen. Or the world might go to hell tomorrow. I don't know. But either way, the fourth turning that they're talking about here is going to happen. It's not if, it's when. But we got through all that other shit, didn't we? Maybe it sucked. It changed a lot of us. I know it changed me, some of the shit I've been through. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I've changed a lot, man. Some for the worse, some for the better. There's a lot of things I deal with that I never thought I'd have to deal with as an outcome of things I've gone through. And some of it sucks. And I wish I hadn't have gone through some of that stuff, but it made me who I am for the better as well. Yeah, it came with some shit, but I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I'm still learning, growing every day the best I can. And that's the way you look at this. You know, granted, not all of us get through everything. Some of us lose our battles, and that's okay. We can't win them all, man. At the end of the day, we're all going to lose the battle called life. We're all on borrowed time. I just don't know how much it is for you or me, but it is what it is. The best I can tell you is you got today, so make the best of it. I know that sounds cliche and stupid, but we're going to go through this hell together. None of us are getting out of this alive. And I think the most important thing you can do, aside from all the shit that we talk about, get prepared and have a plan and learn how to cook and fucking clean and do dishes. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's a dishwasher's job. I mean, I'm joking for the sake of levity. Look, you've got to enjoy this life while you have it. That's the most important thing. You got to enjoy those moments. You got to enjoy the time that you have. And to the best of your ability, when you get the time, don't waste it. And don't drown it out on things that are less important. Let me give you an example. All of you are on social media. How do I know this? Because you're here watching this. Even if you're not on Facebook, you're on social media. Is it your day off? What could you be doing but watching me? Am I the most important part of your day? Probably not. I would fucking hope not. Maybe spending more time with a loved one or a pet or a friend or even doing a hobby would be more important than scrolling through YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. That's just one example. Really focus on what matters to you, especially in times like this, and make time for those things. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. I'm just giving you again examples, but none of us are going to get out of here alive. So use up every fucking minute you can doing what you want to do. That's my best advice. More important than learning how to fucking cook and camp and set fires and fucking build a bunker. Enjoy the goddamn moment, because it's going to be gone. Tell you a personal experience. I have a family member. I'm not going to mention who, but their whole life, they've always focused on the past and the future. I remember vacations, they'd be talking about work instead of enjoying the vacation. And now, as they're getting older, they're talking about and planning for and thinking of every scenario about old age and or death. What about right now, while you have your faculties, while you have time? This person's never lived in the moment. And I think that's one of the biggest mentors in my life, is watching that person worry about everything but the moment they have has taught me a lot about enjoying the moment. And the moments aren't always great. Some of my best moments were being homeless or struggling to put an RV back together before the first winter storm when half the RV was exposed to the elements, right? Or almost falling off a mountainside because I took the North Face out in the middle of winter in a negative 20-degree morning and my vehicle almost slid off the side of the road. At the time, oh no, it wasn't fun. But looking back, being in the moment, I made it. And it was a good experience. You've got to be in the moment. I've been saying that. I swear I don't have the quote because it's years ago, but I even wrote it in my my high school book. You know, you have a quote. You know, yesterday was a gift. Tomorrow's never promised. Make the most of the day. It was something like that. And it still applies years later. And I still think it's just as important. Maybe I had a few more brain cells back then. I didn't drink them all away when I was 18. I still think it applies. Today is your greatest gift. So fucking make the best of it. I don't care how shitty things are. I don't care what the circumstances are. Make the fucking best of it, please. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't want to fucking go on this sappy long rant too long. But please, for the love of God, before you worry about cooking and camping and cleaning and building bunkers and fucking growing crops and fucking, you know, mending wounds and becoming G.I. fucking Joe, please just enjoy yourself, enjoy your company, and enjoy the time you have. And if you can enjoy it with others, even better. All right, that's it. That's me. That's the show. Thank you for coming on. Thank you to the panel as always. Do appreciate you coming on. It's gonna get fucking ugly, but we're gonna get through this. All right, guys. I'll see you all later.
We are the arbiters of this society.
Repeat after me. As a good citizen, we must maintain a neutral carbon footprint. Repeat after me. We must eat the bugs. Repeat after me. We must eat the bugs.
This is a world that we create and manage. The people, they need to be controlled. We will give them truths, but only our truths. They are not to seek information anywhere else.
It is my job to keep order. So what you saw didn't happen. Erase everything.
You a grunt? I used to be one, and I was good at it.
I know. Things were simpler then. I have some questions.
You need to understand, we're being hunted.
By who?
Bring him to me.
This breaks the world.
Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me f***ed up, let me show you what's up. is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I'll take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty.